Thursday was a very stressful day, man. Thursday was a very stressful day. It is now Friday. I had this podcast already uploaded and ready to go on Thursday night. Then like that, things changed. In one fell swoop, my entire work for Thursday's podcast needed to be redone. 2 hours and 15 minutes of a show that needed to be redone because of the breaking news that happened Thursday night. Why are we receiving it on Thursday night? I don't know. Why are we receiving it after WrestleMania was already filmed at the WWE Performance Center? I don't know. I'm going to try and make the best of it. I'm going to try and give you guys my interpretation of what happened so that I might be able to open some eyes in the community. It's not always the baseline, simple way of going about things. It's not always the majority rule on social media. It's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to give you all variables. It's what I've always done. If I came on here and was simplistic like a lot of others in the community, I wouldn't be where I am today. I would not. I take great pride in what I do, and I'm here to deliver my take on what could possibly be as far as Roman Reigns pulling out of WrestleMania 36. This is what we're going to start the show off with. No introductions, no usual stuff from me. We're going to dive right into it. Roman Reigns pulled out of WrestleMania 36. His match with Goldberg for the Universal Championship will not be taking place at WrestleMania. Pro Wrestling Sheet is reporting that Roman Reigns has pulled out of WrestleMania. Reigns reportedly told officials that he did not feel comfortable doing the show at the Performance Center during the epidemic that is sweeping across the globe. Reigns' immune system is compromised due to his battle with leukemia, and he did not want to take the risk. Great. I am not disagreeing at all with that statement. Throwing that out there right now. If you recall, 2 weeks ago, Reigns expressed concern even before WWE announced the move for WrestleMania into the Performance Center when he liked a tweet from a fan suggesting for him to pull out of the event because of his weakened immune system. WWE is taking every precaution possible to make sure that their performers are not exposed to the virus. Obviously, anyone with underlying health issues or anyone at an advanced age has a higher risk of serious complications if they are exposed to the virus. This is clearly not stopping Vince McMahon from sitting at the helm at 74 years old. Vince McMahon is the only one at this juncture who wants the show to go on as planned, Plan B, at the Performance Center. Fightful Select reports that WWE staff were told on the first day of WrestleMania 36's shooting that Roman Reigns was not coming. Now, Sean Ross Sapp goes on and says this, and I quote, "We've been told that much of the crew involved found out that Roman Reigns wouldn't be participating on Wednesday. Dave Meltzer is reporting that multiple people have pulled out. The names have been kept confidential because very few people in the company know what is going on, but the card has changed and more details will be revealed soon." I have another one of those major names here today. Some people that were scheduled to be on the card said they were sick, which means that they would instantly be pulled off the show. Whether they were really sick or not, I don't know. You don't know. Roman Reigns could have easily used his leukemia and his weakened immune system as a way to stand up for everybody else that might not be able to, and used his leverage to protect the entire locker room. Because if one other individual on that locker room, someone that's not really looked at in the eyes of management as being someone like Roman Reigns, stepped up and said something about they don't want WrestleMania to go on as scheduled. They would rather it be postponed. I don't want to be here during this time and risk such illness to not only me, but everybody else. Maybe Roman Reigns used his stance to stand up for the rest of the locker room, which we will discuss in a little bit. So WWE has been taking precaution with everybody, and if they were sick, they would instantly be pulled off the show. There were others who did not feel sick, but had fevers above 100.4, which disqualifies them from stepping into the Performance Center. And this is per WWE's policy of minimizing the performer's risk of being exposed to the virus. WrestleMania tapings were held over the last 24 hours on Wednesday and Thursday. There's no word yet on what the alternative plans are in place if wrestlers had pulled out of the show. It was reported earlier that Roman Reigns is out of WrestleMania 36. He did not feel comfortable traveling to the show because of his history with leukemia, leaving his immune system compromised. This leaves a huge hole in the card at WrestleMania. Who will Bill Goldberg defend his Universal title against at this year's WrestleMania? According to a tweet from WrestleVotes, it could be looked at that we may be looking at Braun Strowman as a replacement for Roman Reigns. They tweeted out a gif of Braun Strowman hugging Roman Reigns as soon as the news broke about Roman pulling out of WrestleMania. Now, does that mean Braun Strowman will be going up against Goldberg at WrestleMania? It sure seems like that was the intention of WrestleVotes' tweet. I will have my say on that in a little bit. Do I like it? Fuck no! I think that is the worst of the options. That just shows the level of zero creativity within the WWE. And if you are one of those people who are advocating for Braun Strowman versus Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania, you may be the dumbest fuck I have seen dwell on social media. Goldberg couldn't even get Bray Wyatt up in a jackhammer. You're expecting this guy to attempt a jackhammer on Braun Strowman? Give me a fucking break. This guy was winded in a match against Bray Wyatt at the last show. You're going to have him go into a match with Braun Strowman and have anything come out of that is remotely watchable? Give me a fucking break, man. Now, this tweet came just minutes after the account tweeted that there will be news. They were referencing an earlier cryptic tweet advocating for the delay of the show. Now, Roman is the leader of the locker room, and Roman is the one guy that would be looked upon if he stood up, could have any influence over this show possibly getting postponed. WrestleMania is a huge paycheck. A huge paycheck normally for these guys. How much of that paycheck they were going to be receiving, if at all, for this show, nobody knows. I am guessing nothing. Nothing. Just the way WrestleMania was shaping up to be inside the Performance Center, and the reports of only one man wanting this thing to go on because of his own fucking selfish ways, Vince McMahon. Nobody in that locker room wanted WrestleMania to happen in its current state. Nobody. According to Meltzer and The Observer, there could be more announcements of match changes in the coming days due to people not wanting to travel in for the show. Then there was a news article that broke this morning, Friday. One of the names outside of Roman Reigns that is not going to be on WrestleMania is The Miz. That is one of the other major names. The Miz a major name? Yeah, right. Never. Now, outside of that little joke, now I know this is not a laughing matter, but I find The Miz being a major superstar quite laughable. The Miz is supposed to defend the titles with John Morrison on the show against either the New Day or the Usos. I didn't think that match needed to be on the show at all, honestly, but here we are. He was in Orlando this week, as reported on Wrestling Observer Radio. Miz is now being reported as sick, and he was pulled off the show as a precaution. Anyone who shows signs of illness is not allowed in the Performance Center. Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that the Usos were upset when they found out The Miz was sick. This is what prompted Roman Reigns to pull out of the show. Roman Reigns pulled out of the show, after he found out the Usos were upset when they found out The Miz was ill, quote unquote. This is the latest on Roman Reigns pulling out of WrestleMania 36, his match with Goldberg seemingly canceled, and the other major names are starting to be revealed as the day goes on. The Miz and now the Usos more than likely will not be on WrestleMania's card. Now, as far as everything goes, there's still a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk about what I look at when I see this situation. We're going to talk about why I think the majority of the roster, when it was reported by WrestleVotes, when they said the majority of the roster did not want the show to happen, they would rather it be postponed for other reasons. Various reasons. Obvious reasons. I believe everything about that report. And what I would do as far as a replacement for Roman Reigns against Bill Goldberg. You know, it was because of my opinion on the Roman Reigns story last night and him pulling out of WrestleMania. With one tweet, I offered my opinion on the situation, and I was met with death threats. I was met with people who wanted me to perish. I was met with people who wanted me to die so badly that they wanted to rejoice at my funeral, some of which I honestly think everybody is a raving lunatic. I was wished the virus about 9 different times in the span of an hour. Now, I don't know what that says about the individual or individuals on the other side of the computer screen, on the other side of the keyboard. You know, that says a lot about somebody who wishes death on someone that they genuinely don't know in real life. All because I was bringing different variables and viewpoints, which are absolutely plausible in this situation, to anyone who wants to use their brain. I am one who does not like to go the simplistic route. I like to offer other viewpoints. And more importantly, my view is based off a scripted television program. And here I am receiving death threats of all sorts because of my view on pro wrestling. I was one of the first ones, as soon as WrestleMania was moved into the Performance Center, I was one of the first ones who said, postpone it. Move it into Madison Square Garden in June, I said. I did some research, found out that WWE had an open pay-per-view spot in June. I thought it would be easy. I am looking at this a little bit more optimistically and think the economy will be back to normal by June. When things hopefully get a lot better, I think this would be a right time to do it. Plus, MSG would welcome WWE and WrestleMania with open arms. And WrestleMania could go off inside a historic building the way that it's meant to go off. Now, yes, that's a perfect world. I was met with people saying, stop neglecting the virus. The country will not be back to work by June. Show will not be able to take place by that time. Making me out to be a crazy lunatic for thinking that the world is going to get back to normal and not wanting the economy to be completely shit. I don't know how the government is going to expect there to be any type of economy at all if we are out of work from now until June. The economy will cease to exist. That's another story. I wish WWE would have abandoned everything they did during this WrestleMania season, except Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler, Edge versus Randy Orton, which in my eyes has been the only thing WrestleMania worthy. And you can maybe make a case for John Cena and Bray Wyatt. You look at everything else on that card, and it's very easy to say, wash it all away and start over. The audience would understand, you would understand, I would understand, and honestly, I think everybody would embrace the fact that WWE did the right thing and followed every other major sports organization and shut things down temporarily. It would also give the company another shot to do WrestleMania season the right way, because it's been embarrassing to watch, and WrestleMania season honestly gets worse and worse every single year, with WrestleMania being the worst show, quality-wise, all year that WWE puts on. WWE has produced live television in a way that it has never intended to produce live television. They didn't embrace it. They didn't have fun with the difference the virus was making in their normal way they go about things. They didn't try anything new. And the shows in the empty arenas exposed WWE's product for being truly awful. Like I said, it has been for years. Everything from scripted announce teams, terrible dialogue, WWE Network reruns that had nothing to do with the current WrestleMania build, simply to fill television time. They refused to use any creativity whatsoever, and they used their entire roster in minimum quantities week to week to continue the road to WrestleMania as if nothing was going on. The shows were not producing. Everyone started looking at the WWE as pathetic because they refused to do the right thing and follow every other major sport in the world and just stop. Just stop temporarily for a little bit. Nobody would fault them. Money at this point was taking precedence over health of the roster and the fans, not only who paid to be at this event in Tampa originally, some of which would have been there for the first time, some of which have reached out to me. It would have been your first WrestleMania and how upset you were. But the fans sitting at home who felt WWE wasn't listening to them and continued to stroll along without a care in the world as long as their half-assed Plan B version of WrestleMania was produced. WrestleVotes tweeted out approximately 1 week ago that the majority of the WWE roster did not want to perform at this incarnation of WrestleMania and would have rather seen the show get postponed. Not canceled, postponed. That is a very, very important line in the story. Not canceled, postponed. The virus will still be around even when things get back to normal. So what does Roman Reigns' leukemia have to do with anything? If Roman Reigns is compromised now, he would have been compromised then. It's not going to magically go away. 1 week ago, the virus in the United States was trending the same as in Europe, and I think anyone with their brain could have predicted that since last week, we all foreseen what was going to happen as far as its deadly nature. I believed this story. I believe this story outside of the virus. Why wouldn't the majority of the roster want this show to be postponed? Randy Orton at Edge. This is the best storyline going on WWE TV right now. Edge made his return in the Royal Rumble after being away for 9 years. Did Edge want to come back after 9 years, after writing the final chapter of his career his way? Did he want to wrestle in front of nobody after 9 years? Now, Edge said that WrestleMania is a very important show and we must go on with the show because it's important to everybody. What do you expect Edge to say? What do you expect him to say? Do you expect Edge to come out and say, well, I don't think WrestleMania should go on in this current state. I think it should be postponed. I don't think Vince McMahon should be putting on the show inside the Performance Center. Is that what you expected Edge to say? What do you think Edge thinks about when looking at an empty Performance Center? I came back for this. It might be important to him, but you know his whole heart is not going to be filled wrestling in an empty Performance Center after 9 years for the first time in 9 years. Give me a break. Undertaker and AJ Styles. Never mind the Undertaker's age, which he falls in line with the age that is going to be easily compromised because of the virus. That has nothing to do with what I'm trying to make here. Well, the point I'm trying to make, Undertaker and AJ Styles, which is a first-time ever match, a fantasy match for a lot of different people. You want that fantasy match to happen inside an empty Performance Center? Now, granted, we got a boneyard stipulation. Nobody knows what the fuck that means. But they're going about this in a cinematic way, according to rumors. But still, this is WWE's other option, taking these two out of a stadium filled with 80,000 people and now wrestling amongst nobody. Wrestling proverbially on a set with fake tombstones, dirt, and other gimmicks to try and sell this as a first-time ever contest. Do you think both of these guys envision this first-time ever match in front of no people, both wrestling on a mound of dirt? I don't think so. Drew McIntyre. There's anybody outside Edge I feel sorry for, it's Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre winning his first WWE Championship at WrestleMania in his first main event at WrestleMania. in front of no fans. You think Drew McIntyre got fired by WWE to go to Impact Wrestling to make a name for himself over there, to come back, quote-unquote, home, bust his ass, get buried, show that he's fucking strong-willed and able to carry all the burden that it is to be a WWE superstar, to finally get this spot and wrestle in front of no fans? I don't think so. I don't think so. Is Drew McIntyre one of the guys that probably wanted this to be postponed? 100%. 100%. They can spin it. Edge can spin it. Randy Orton can spin it any way that they want. You know deep down that these guys could not do anything about it, and they didn't want this show to go off as Vince McMahon seen it with this plan B. Something as little as Otis and Mandy and the payoff there, which 100% of that storyline resides in the fans. It would be a first WrestleMania moment for Otis. It would be a first WrestleMania moment for Mandy Rose. And that storyline completely hindered on the fan interaction and the reaction of the fans towards Otis finally getting one over Dolph Ziggler, and Otis finally getting the beautiful blonde and having a happy ever after. Imagine that. Something as little as Otis and Mandy and the payoff there, which in my eyes has been the best storyline going on SmackDown Live. Roman Reigns winning the Universal Championship once again. Believe it or not, your boy Joe Anoa'i wanted to win the Universal Championship. He said so in his promo. Why shouldn't I main event WrestleMania? I'm taking back what is mine. I'm taking back what I have never lost. Roman Reigns winning the Universal Championship once again in a marquee match that WWE was building up as a epic clash. After all the work WWE did to keep him out of the top spot, to keep him out of the spotlight, Roman Reigns wrestled fucking Baron Corbin for 7 months so that he could be suppressed away from the top spot on SmackDown, winning the Universal Championship in front of no fans. Do you not think Roman thought about the fact of working all these months against Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode, doing nothing, biding his time to finally get back into the good graces of the fans that once disliked him, only to have the ultimate payoff and crowning moment in front of, you guessed it, no fans. No wrestler in this business, aspiring or a veteran, like Randy Orton, The Undertaker, Edge, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, wants to wrestle at the biggest pro wrestling show in the industry in front of 0 fans. No athlete in this world, period, wants to play their biggest game in their biggest events if it was to be conducted in front of 0 fans. Tom Brady, LeBron James, Mike Trout, Conor McGregor, just to name a few. None of them, no matter the circumstance, the money involved for all of them and the organizations, all the organizations involved, the energy, the moments, it's what makes or breaks a game or a huge event. Don't believe the garbage when you see it on social media about, oh, no other athlete would ever do what, or something like this. They would never not perform in front of no fans. Blah, 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 blah. I seen some bullshit on social media yesterday. They absolutely would not perform in front of no fans. And the organizations would not even allow them to, even if they did. WWE is not normal. Wrestlers look forward to this payday all year round. It's what they live for in this business at this level. All year, you think they wrestle 300 days a year, being away from families, being away from their wife, their kids, their loved ones, their pets, their friends. You think they're on the road 300 days a year to wrestle in front of an empty arena mania. You think they wrestle all year round to wrestle at WrestleMania in front of no fans, which accompanies that by no payday, no merchandise, no fan interaction, no excitement, no hype, no WrestleMania moment, no energy, no life. Why would you want to be around that? Storyline payoffs? Yeah, the storylines are coming to an end, but what does it really matter if the storylines come to an end or not? There's no emotion. There's no emotional investment in anything that's going to culminate at WrestleMania. Merchandise sales, autograph signings mean extra income on top of their WrestleMania bonus, which at this point is non-existent. Vince McMahon is set to lose $20 million to $25 million on WrestleMania. You think those appearing on WrestleMania on April 4 and April 5 are going to get WrestleMania bonuses? If they do, it's very little. Why would they want to show up? Why would they want to show up? And then you got the cherry on top of the cake, which is the epidemic going on. So not only are you risking your health, but you're also not getting what you worked for all year round. Many of the WWE roster have close friends and colleagues, students possibly, that they've trained working an event that's piggybacking off of WrestleMania. You don't think those WWE roster members who are in close connection with those people down on the indies, whether it's a promoter or a certain wrestler or a possible student of theirs, you don't think the WWE roster feels bad that they will be directly affected by WWE continuing on WrestleMania in this closed space capacity? Kevin Owens came out and outwardly defended WrestleCon, saying that he got his first break in the business working for the fine people that conduct WrestleCon every single year. He stood up for them. You don't think WWE's roster is like Kevin Owens, who directly want the indies to flourish as well? Because without the indies nowadays, the WWE has nobody to fucking hoard and sign to a WWE contract. Without the indies, the WWE wouldn't have 60% of its fucking roster. Probably more. So that's another variable there on why the roster, the majority of the roster, did not want WrestleMania to go on as planned, okay? And there's no way you can refute anything I said there. So please explain to me where I am wrong. I'm not. Roman Reigns has walked out of WrestleMania and refused to work Goldberg for the Universal title, and this was revealed Thursday night by various sources in the community. It was stated that WWE crew was informed on Wednesday during the first day of WrestleMania filming. People have criticized me for my line of thinking, but is it not relative to the entire conversation? Of course it is. Did Roman Reigns refuse to work WrestleMania because of his highly compromised immune system? Absolutely! I am not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with any of you, as I am sure that was the ultimate deciding factor. But certain things do not line up with me. This is why I'm here to offer variables and different viewpoints. It's not always what is the blatantly obvious. Now, it seems to me people are not using logic unless something else changed his mind. Roman Reigns was at SmackDown on Fox, live inside the Performance Center in the ring, face-to-face with Bill Goldberg during a contract signing that ended the show. SmackDown then taped 2 more shows the very next day, according to reports, which I'm assuming included Roman Reigns on the show. We will see whether that's true or not tonight. And then we got the go-home show, which again we will see if Roman is involved or not next week. That is to be believed that Roman was a part of those shows. Now, we don't know for sure. Now, we don't know until we watch SmackDown tonight if Roman is a part of this or not. It was the same week, earlier in the week, where news came out that Rey Mysterio and Dana Brooke were sent home to be quarantined for not feeling well. 2 individuals who would be in the same building and in the same locker room as Roman Reigns inside the Performance Center, being that everyone is working multiple shows, multiple nights from multiple different brands. Yes, I get it. It's Raw and SmackDown. But they're all sharing the same locker room. This is not different brands and different venues. This is one house for the entire WWE roster where WrestleMania, SmackDown, Raw, and NXT are being filmed. Rey Mysterio was pulled the prior weekend and had his WrestleMania plans canceled for Andrade and the United States Championship, as Andrade was then shifted into a tag team with Angel Garza and then challenged the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team titles. Dana Brooke was pulled out of the 6-pack challenge, and no replacement for Dana Brooke was revealed. Roman still opted to come to work on Friday, work SmackDown, even with the slightest of possibilities that the roster could start falling like dominoes, with Mysterio and Dana Brooke being the first two. Mysterio wrestled Andrade the week prior, not knowing if he was ill at all. Andrade teamed with Garza, who Andrade, like I mentioned, worked with Ray. Andrade teamed with Garza. They worked Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, who came in contact with whoever came after that, so on and so forth. We won't know anything until SmackDown airs tonight. Just please keep that in mind. But it is being reported that 4 other major names, other major stars, refused to work the show as well, citing conditions of being quote-unquote sick. Who these stars are, I have no idea. I mentioned The Miz and I mentioned the Usos earlier in the report. I am sure Roman is still taking some type of medication from his previous cancer treatments. I would assume. Don't know that for sure, but I would assume. His immune system isn't one to take a chance with any of that. Another contributing factor has to be talked about, which is Roman Reigns being a leader in the WWE locker room. This morning, it was revealed that The Miz worked Friday night and then came down with a quote-unquote sickness. It has not been revealed if it was the virus or not. This reportedly angered the Usos, who felt perhaps they had been compromised by The Miz showing up to work Friday, which could have compromised any number of wrestlers who had filmed on Saturday's tapings for the next 2 weeks. If The Miz was in the ring and feeling ill, it is said that the virus stays on surfaces for 3 to 4 days. So The Miz feeling ill, he was sent home. The Usos were upset about this, which could have compromised any number of wrestlers who had filmed on Saturday's tapings for the next 2 weeks and at WrestleMania. With his family upset, surely Roman also thought about the locker room. No question he thought about the locker room. Now, 2 weeks ago, they were begging for WrestleMania to be postponed so they could do it the right way. And they could benefit some from working all year. And how he is in a unique position as a top guy in WWE's eyes and the wrestler's eyes to make a stand. Again, of course, his immune system and the potential ramifications of him getting infected with the virus is the top priority. I am not disagreeing with you guys. But like anyone with a serious immune condition, this is a baseline concern, a simplistic concern, a very simplistic approach where you have to take all the cautions against or precautions against. I am sure Roman has done this, but it hasn't stopped him from coming out last Friday and being in the ring with Goldberg despite potential health concerns. Besides the number one priority of his health is also his concern for the Usos, his own family. The chorus of those in the locker room wanting it to be postponed for obvious reasons that I previously mentioned in this podcast, and finally culminating in him pulling out of the match with Goldberg. I am sure he knew that if he pulled out, other top stars would follow suit, and maybe if they all banded together, they would have a better shot at getting WWE to acquiesce to their fans and their superstars. Knowing WWE, I don't think that is the case, and we will probably see the most watered down and most underwhelming WrestleMania that the company has ever produced. I admire Roman for making the tough call and feel he was in a position that he was best placed to do so. He could use his health as a determining factor, but also cause shockwaves through the WWE. Frankly, I'm surprised it took this long for this news and information to leak to us. I'm surprised no one talked about this until last night. We'll have to see tonight how the card has changed from what has been shown on NXT and Raw this week. Yes, Roman's leukemia is the determining factor. But if Roman is standing, I'm telling you right now, and I mean this wholeheartedly, if Roman and any of his mentality going into this is to back up the locker room, knowing that he's heard all the cries and the whimpers and the complaints as well about them not wanting WrestleMania to go on. If at all part of his reasoning is not only his leukemia, which I'm sure is the number one reason, but also the care and love that he has for his locker room, knowing that this is not what they expected and they wish Vince McMahon would honor their request and postpone the show, looking out for them. If any of Roman's reason is to back up that locker room and defend them to the death like he has, causing him to back out of WrestleMania this year, I will have the utmost respect for Roman Reigns moving forward. I know Roman Reigns is Joe Anoa'i. I know he is a very good-hearted individual. And if that is the reason, on top of his own personal reasons, and he thrusted himself into that position as the fallback guy, knowing that if he stood up, maybe everybody else would follow suit, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Roman Reigns, Joseph Anoa'i. This is a situation that I was not surprised when this happened. I was not. I knew something was going to happen, not at this level, and I am not surprised that it ended up being Roman Reigns. Now, what is WWE going to do as far as Roman Reigns and his replacement? This is very easy, folks. This is very easy, and the answer does not lie in Braun Strowman. The answer is not Braun fucking Strowman. You could not sell me ever on Braun Strowman versus Bill Goldberg for the Universal Championship. Hey, what has Braun Strowman done for a Universal Championship? He lost to fucking Sami Zayn and the Intercontinental Championship. You mean to tell me that out of all of this, Braun Strowman is going to get the Universal title in this condition when the guy had not one, not two, but 3 different opportunities to take the fucking Universal Championship and WWE failed in creatively booking him? Now you're thinking about giving him the Universal Championship. I don't buy it. I will never buy it. Braun Strowman is an absolute fucking disaster waiting to happen as Universal Champion. So much so that someone asked me a question on social media. JD, who would you rather wrestle Goldberg at WrestleMania? Braun Strowman or Nia Jax? I would take Nia Jax over Braun Strowman in this situation. That's how much I am disgusted by Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman is also the answer to WWE's lack of creativity. That is, them just saying, you know what, we give up. Having Braun Strowman versus Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania as a replacement for Roman Reigns is WWE pretty much throwing their hands up in the air, saying, you know what, I give up. I give up. What else are we going to have to deal with this WrestleMania season? Instead of using their fucking creativity, I got 3 foolproof ways WWE can turn this around and make things right. Number 1 would be Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle is the easiest fucking option. Goldberg has no fucking opponent. How epic would it be, even if there's no fucking crowd in that performance center? How epic would it be if Matt Riddle came out and challenged good old Bill Goldberg and beat him with his own move to win the Universal Championship? Suck it up, Vince. Suck it up. Suck it up, old man. That is the number 1 way to get yourself out of this situation and make it make the most sense out of everything. Braun Strowman? I think not. Now, that's easy. Is WWE going to go with that? Of course not, because it makes too much sense. Number two. Bill Goldberg is without an opponent, okay? Bray Wyatt and John Cena are wrestling at WrestleMania. Don't know how the match is going to come off. Don't know what type of match it will be. All WWE has to do is make John Cena versus Bray Wyatt a number 1 contender match. Now, all of a sudden, John Cena's chase for number 17 has magically reappeared. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt for number 1 contendership. The winner of that match fights Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania in the same night. Have Bray Wyatt beat John Cena. Have Bray Wyatt challenge Bill Goldberg again for the Universal Championship and have Bray Wyatt win back the title as The Fiend in the same way that Bill Goldberg beat The Fiend a couple of weeks back in Saudi Arabia. Very simple. Goldberg squashed The Fiend gets his revenge and squashes Goldberg. And you know what? Have fun with it. It's supposed to be Roman Reigns, and more than likely Roman Reigns and The Fiend were going to end up on a collision course anyway on SmackDown. Who else would there be for Roman to fight for the Universal Championship on SmackDown? It was always going to be Bray Wyatt. So you might as well weave in Bray Wyatt into the Universal Championship match now, have him win the title back from Goldberg, and then have fun with it. Have him capture Roman Reigns. Have him feel this possession come over him this demonic possession come over him, have him do the nastiest things to Roman Reigns. Soon as that stipulation is announced, have WWE film a scene in the Funhouse where Roman Reigns is being dragged away by Bray Wyatt, captured by Bray Wyatt, which will lend to the story of Bray Wyatt beating John Cena and then challenging Bill Goldberg for the Universal Championship. That way you get Wyatt with the Universal title, and then you already set yourself up with a inevitable feud against Roman Reigns, where Roman could win the title back that he never lost against Bray Wyatt. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Or option 3, which I think might be the best option out of all. Why don't we, being that Keith Lee is fighting Dominik Dijakovic and Damian Priest, I believe, next week on NXT, if Keith Lee loses the North American Championship, man, that would free up Keith Lee for a WrestleMania spot. Why doesn't Keith Lee come out there and challenge Bill Goldberg? Why doesn't Keith Lee win the Universal Championship? Isn't Keith Lee the guy Roman Reigns says, I'd love to have a one-on-one match with you after their epic confrontation at the Survivor Series? Wouldn't that be great if Keith Lee wins the Universal Championship, which I heard anyway that Vince McMahon and WWE management were incredibly high on Keith Lee coming out of the Survivor Series. Why not give him the opportunity? Why not go with something new, something fresh? SmackDown could certainly use it. Keith Lee beats Bill Goldberg, and there is Keith Lee staring down Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns gets his match with Keith Lee, the one that he asked for coming out of the Survivor Series. I'm going to see you again. Nobody thought it would be after WrestleMania. Nobody thought that Keith Lee would be looking at Roman Reigns as the Universal Champion. Do something different. Be creative. Outside that, I don't know who else works. Baron Corbin? Absolutely not. There really is nobody else on SmackDown that would even make sense. Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm hearing rumblings about Shinsuke Nakamura, too, from the fan base. Oh, he deserves better. It doesn't make any sense. Baron Corbin, Shinsuke Nakamura, anybody else that's, you might be thinking, it all lands on Braun Strowman, says WrestleVotes. Awful. Awful. This WrestleMania will be the worst in the history of WWE. And they had every opportunity to cancel it, postpone it, do whatever, hold off on it. Friday was your opportunity. That contract signing before Roman and Goldberg stepped out there was your opportunity. You didn't listen. You didn't listen to government officials. You didn't listen to the fan base. Vince McMahon did what he wanted against the cries and the complaints of his own roster. This show should not even be going on at this juncture. And like I said, if Roman and any of his reasoning has to do with him defending his roster because he knows on top of his immune system that the roster did not want to go on with this show, I will forever respect Roman Reigns as a human being and as a superstar. That is my take on Roman Reigns being pulled, or pulling himself, I should say, out of WrestleMania 36 and the match with Goldberg not taking place. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let's hit the introduction, and I'll be right back. I know it's a little late for an introduction, but I needed to get all that off my chest. Let's hit the introduction, and I'll be right back with episode 319 of Off the Script.
Delete this man.
People still did. I don't know what you guys were doing on Tuesday night, but I know I was on my couch with a cold beverage, and I was watching True TV, or not True TV, Viceland TV, True TV. I don't know why I got True TV, Vice TV. And we were all watching the Chris Benoit documentary about the life and death of Chris Benoit and the tragedy that happened with him and his son and his wife and even Eddie Guerrero. It was one of the best documentaries I think I've seen in all of pro wrestling. I love Dark Side of the Ring. I think they do a phenomenal job at really capturing the just aura of all these stories. I think they do a great job as who they get to be on these shows and just recap and tell the stories in the way that they do. I love the fact that they have the reimagining of certain superstars in the show. They get actors to play the shadowy figures of who the documentary is about. In this case, Chris Benoit. There was so much that I did not know going in, and I uncovered things that I did not know coming out of that documentary, man. It was a really, really, really great 2 hours of documentary. And the one I'm actually looking forward to isn't even the Chris Benoit one. It was before the season even started. I was looking forward to seeing what else they have on tap. And lo and behold, Owen Hart is actually lined up for this season's Dark Side of the Ring. But man, if you guys watch that Chris Benoit documentary, some of the things in that 2 hours were new to me. They were new to me. The steps leading up to Eddie Guerrero's death, and when Chavo found him in the hotel room, they had to take the bolt cutters to pry open the hotel lock door because it was double locked. And he walked into the hotel room and found Eddie convulsing and just spitting up, gurgling. He had a toothbrush in his hand. Did not know that Eddie Guerrero died in Chavo Guerrero Jr.'s arms. So that was new to me. And I'm not afraid to admit whatever I had watched there as it pertains to Eddie Guerrero, watching Chavo get emotional all over again about the situation, and watching Dean Malenko, who was also part of the documentary, talking about it, and watching Vicky Guerrero, just detail what it was like to get that phone call from Vince McMahon. Man, I wasn't the biggest Eddie Guerrero fan. Obviously, I knew the guy's body of work. I obviously knew what he meant to a lot of people, how many people he influenced in the business still today. Unbelievable wrestler with an unbelievable legacy that will live on forever. Man, watching this, and I know it's going to be the same thing with Owen Hart, I started to tear up, and it was very difficult for me to hold back just tearing up watching this. It was very hard to watch. It was very emotional, and I'm sure a lot of people in the community that do what I do uttered the same thing. They said the same thing. So that was one of the things I did not know about as it pertains to Eddie Guerrero. And with Chris Benoit, again, I wasn't the biggest Chris Benoit fan. I obviously appreciated the guy's work. Was he a masterful wrestler? Absolutely. But everything that happened with Chris Benoit, it was washed away. Everything that you had as far as a good thought goes when you're thinking about Chris Benoit, it was ultimately washed away. Even if you had a somewhat fond memory of Chris Benoit and what he meant to the pro wrestling world when he was doing his thing, it was all washed away with this documentary. And at the end of this thing, I hope it really puts a lot of people to just be silent about it from now on and not even utter anything about Chris Benoit being in the Hall of Fame. There's no fucking way that you could watch that documentary and just say, fuck this guy. I hope everybody that's still clamoring, oh, he's a Hall of Famer, he should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. It's never going to happen. It is never going to happen. It should never happen. It shouldn't even be a fucking conceived notion in your head. I hope all those people that wonder about Chris Benoit and if the WWE will one day allow him into the Hall of Fame. No, it's over. It's over. They did this documentary, and I hope it just shuts everybody up. I really do. The way that they detailed how Chris was in the relationship with Nancy and how Kevin Sullivan kind of booked his own divorce or kind of booked the end of his own marriage to Nancy, woman. It was really eye-opening. And it was always something that part of the story, it always was something that was in the back of people's minds when they found out that, Chris Benoit was dead and his family was murdered. A lot of conspiracy theorists out there, they were like, oh, Kevin Sullivan broke into the home and killed the entire family as some sort of revenge plot against Chris Benoit and Nancy, and then took their son with, and did the same thing for no reason to the son, right? And I think even after watching the documentary, I think we can kind of put that theory to bed as well, because Dark Side of the Ring and who's ever a part of the show, they did a fantastic job showing actual crime scene photos, showing the different rooms and the evidence that was laid out that day with Benoit. Benoit lived with his wife and his son for a couple of days in the house while they were dead. He was looking up. Ways to easily hang yourself. He was drinking while all this was going on, and that's some of the things that I did not know about either. Just uncovering all those crime scene photos and looking at the evidence. There was a knife underneath his son's bed, the way that he killed his wife and the way he was contemplating his own death. And even in the journal, this is something else I did not know. Vicky Guerrero and Nancy got him a journal to write down his thoughts when Eddie had passed. Because it was, a lot of people are saying it was an unhealthy relationship between Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. But I don't know what other people would expect as far as the relationship goes. Was it unhealthy? Some people say it's unhealthy. Do I think it was an unhealthy relationship? No. I truly do believe that in that instance, with them traveling the road together and spending all these countless hours on the road, in the gym, in the back, in the locker room, in the arena, sharing moments like they did at WrestleMania, it is not difficult to believe that a man could be close to another man like that. And in this case, they were the ultimate best friends. I don't believe it was an unhealthy relationship, but it really was, when you think about it, it truly was the cherry on top of the cake. It was the true downfall of Chris Benoit. He didn't know how to cope with Eddie Guerrero's death. And again, there were things in this documentary that I didn't really know of. Nobody knew of. It was just eye-opening. Vicky Guerrero would document how Chris Benoit would lay in their bed where Eddie used to lay, hugging his pillow, crying into Eddie's pillow. So much so that they had to get him a journal for him to write down his thoughts. Chris Jericho even said at the funeral that he'd never seen Chris Benoit cry and sob and weep the way that he did. And it came to a point where Jericho had Benoit crying on his shoulder, crying so much that Jericho explained how Benoit cried so hard, the tears and the water from his eyes, the tears from his eyes, seeped into not only his suit jacket, but underneath his suit jacket, through his shirt, underneath the jacket, on top of his shoulder. His shoulder on his suit was so soaking wet due to Chris Benoit crying so hard and so intense at Eddie Guerrero's funeral. And with the journal that Nancy and Vicky Guerrero got him, it was ultimately his opening to express his thoughts, because he was so closed off with everything that had happened. He stopped communication with a lot of people. He was just very distant and by himself. And, people grieve in different ways. That was his way of grieving. But in the meantime, he was so heartbroken over what had happened that he started contemplating his own suicide. He was writing in the journal, talking to Eddie through his words, "I'll see you soon." He was already contemplating suicide then, while writing his thoughts down in the journal. And then the way it was just detailed about how he went about killing his family, and just the step-by-step process where WWE did not have all the information about Benoit and the family murders, how they went on Monday Night Raw and they dedicated an entire 2-hour show for all the superstars to praise how great Chris Benoit was and go over fond memories that they had of Chris and share all these good moments about what he did and what he did for them and what type of person he was. And then the week after, the information came out about what he did and what the motives were, and all the evidence was starting to come together. Vince McMahon had to come out on Monday Night Raw and explain that Chris Benoit's name will never be uttered again in any light on WWE television, something that still upholds to this very day. Blacklisted. He's not even an entity in that universe anymore. It's crazy. It was absolutely crazy, man. One of the best wrestling documentaries I ever seen. And I think the two things rather, that came out of that documentary is, one, a lot of people are calling for Nancy Benoit to be honored in the WWE Hall of Fame. Don't know if that will happen, just based off the situation that she is aligned with him, or woman. They want woman to be in the Hall of Fame. And Jericho, who was narrating the documentary, he even said that he thinks that woman should be in the Hall of Fame just due to the influence that she had on the business in the role that she played, a role that is seldom seen anymore. And if it is, nobody was even close to what her and Miss Elizabeth did, because they were the innovators of that valet/managerial role on WWE TV. A lot of people are calling for her Hall of Fame induction. I don't think that will happen. Do I think it's deserved? Yes. She was an innocent bystander, of course. She did nothing wrong. And then, obviously, another thing as it pertains to Nancy, I didn't know Chris Benoit beat her. That was never, I don't think that was even a thought in anybody's mind before we watched this documentary together. Nobody knew that. It was always Kevin Sullivan. And then a lot of people thought that, Kevin Sullivan was beating Nancy early on and hitting Nancy, and then Nancy went and ran to Chris Benoit for safety. Kevin Sullivan was reached out for a statement, and he refused to give one, and then he said to the producers of the show, "Nothing about me hitting Nancy is true at all. It's all false." And then we hear about Chris and the anger that he had towards Nancy and the steroid abuse that he was taking upon himself, and that was leading to roid rage, and he beat Nancy because of the roid rage. We've seen texts and messages from Nancy to Chris about how she can't deal with the roid rage anymore. It's unbelievable. Again, stuff that we had absolutely no idea on. And if you haven't watched it, if you really haven't watched it, I would urge you to go out and watch it. It's on Vice's YouTube channel. If I remember, I'll link you guys down below. Go and check it out. It's absolutely worth 2 hours of your time. YouTube, you'll get the occasional YouTube ad, but it comes in around an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes or so on the YouTube channel. Unbelievable stuff. And I wanted to go over my thoughts on it because a lot of people were asking, did you watch it? Did you watch it? Of course I watched it. I just didn't really tweet about it. The other thing I really feel bad about before I move on to the actual podcast is Daniel Benoit. He is going to be blacklisted forever. It's one of those situations where you feel so bad for him that he can't live a normal life. Everybody that knows of the situation, he said barely anybody reached out to him. The only people that reached out to him were Vicky, and the other person that reached out to him was Chavo. It was crazy how everybody just kind of said, you know what, I don't want to get involved in that situation. He wasn't even there. He didn't even know. He had to find out when the police picked him up, brought him to the station, and a random police officer told him what his father did. And he couldn't believe it. He thought the police officer was lying. I feel so bad for how he has to live. He dealt with all the hate and all the negativity. He even went over all the negative comments he's received on social media. Chavo went over all the negative comments that he's received still to this day that he gets on social media about the entire situation. He will never be able to do anything in the world of professional wrestling, an industry in which his father, before all of this happened, was looked at as an idol, as a god. And he can't do anything to move past that in an industry he wants to be a part of so badly. He can't even live a normal life away from the industry without being associated with what his father did. He's getting a bad reputation for what his father did. And the thing about it, the crazy thing about it is he still to this day constantly says, whoever that man was on that day is not my father. He is still my hero. Go out and watch it. It's awesome. It really is awesome. So I just wanted to give my thoughts on that stuff on the Dark Side of the Ring documentary. It actually got the highest rating in the history of the series. This particular documentary on Chris Benoit got the highest ratings in the history of the series. 320,000, and we got a series high there. It hopefully can stay above last season's numbers, and then if that is the case, it bodes well for a season 3. Pro wrestling is a very, very shady and dark industry. A lot of secrets that I think a lot of us are interested in. And the previous high for the series was 240,000. Like I said, the Benoit documentary did 320,000 viewers. Next week is New Jack. Upcoming episodes will include Dino Bravo, which I'm also curious about. The Brawl for All, which I lived through, the Brawl for All on WWF television back in the mid-90s. And the life and death of Owen Hart with first-time ever interviews with Martha Hart. That's the one I'm looking forward to. That is the one I am looking forward to most. So go out and check it. Awesome stuff from the Dark Side of the Ring with Chris Benoit and the murders of his wife and his son. SmackDown. Speaking of ratings, SmackDown. For the second week from the Performance Center, the show averaged 2.563 million viewers, down less than 1% from the previous week. In the 18 to 49 demo, SmackDown was up 7%, averaging a 0.75 rating. A number like that would usually put SmackDown on top of the network TV ratings, but with more people at home, it actually trailed several shows. In the 18 to 34 demo, SmackDown did top all other network shows with a 0.6 rating, which was up 20%. The last time the show did a better number was on October 11th, the second week that it had aired on Fox. Hour 1 averaged a 2.637 million viewership. The show then averaged 2.488 million in Hour 2, a drop of 5.6%. The show featured a replay of the WrestleMania 30 match between John Cena and Bray Wyatt with commercials, which took 30 minutes of airtime. Aside from that, the episode was mostly new content. The show still sucked. I don't give a shit what anybody says. You know, again, I'm going to reiterate, WWE is doing what they're doing to get by with all of the outbreak stuff going on. They have their backs against the wall here. They got no way to get a live audience in the arena. They have to operate out of the PC with no live audience. They follow, I don't know when the CDC actually changed their rules from 50 to 10. There could be no more than 50 people in one given area during this entire thing, and then that was reduced to 10. I don't know when that rule and regulation changed, but there's no reason why SmackDown had to go on Friday in its current condition after watching Wednesday and what AEW did, and SmackDown did not follow suit. So, in my eyes, I'm going to go back to what I had previously stated, my original statement when it comes to WWE about this pandemic and how they're handling their TV shows in the situation that we're in. They don't care. They're going to do what they want, when they want, how they want to do it. Now, when it came to Monday Night Raw, they changed what they did with the hard camera because clearly the show looks a lot better and they got that from AEW. And if you say they didn't, then you're a fucking fool. Because AEW did it, and then WWE looked at AEW and said, instead of showing the emptiness of the arena and the empty seats, we'll just shoot the hard cam up the aisleway, and it gives that fuller feeling. It's not so apocalyptic in look as it was the last week we did it. But they still didn't have a good show. WWE still failed on Friday. They failed on Monday. Still showing reruns. I don't know how you guys are accepting, or these people in the community, I don't know how you're accepting of WWE showing fucking reruns on Monday and Friday. You're hyping WrestleMania, right? Then you should be giving me new content. I don't want to see fucking matches from 2015 that have absolutely nothing to do about WrestleMania. I don't want to see Charlotte and Asuka from WrestleMania 34. As depressing as it was the first time I seen it, I didn't need to see it a second time. I have not watched that match since that very evening. Why should I? You gave the fucking plastic Barbie doll android a win that she never fucking deserved. And what does that do? What does that do for her match with Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 36? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. WWE's hyping WrestleMania. They're hyping these shows. They're live. And you're giving me fucking reruns? Come on. You gotta find a better outlet for your creativity. Not the non-existent creativity that you're giving me by showing fucking reruns that I could watch on the WWE Network. And you show John Cena and Bray Wyatt on Friday. And then coincidentally, they show the same fucking event that match was in on Sunday on ESPN. So why are you giving your fucking fans that match on Friday when we could go and watch it on ESPN if we wanted to on Sunday? I don't get it. Absolutely lazy when it comes to creativity. They could have done anything else. They could have had Kayla Braxton in the ring interviewing. They could have Charlie Caruso in the ring interviewing. They could have Renee Young in the ring interviewing. Somebody. I don't understand why we got to go to the back catalog of WWE shows. And then on top of that, like the business guy that I am with the business sense that I have, do you think they push the WWE Network? Of course they don't. You can go watch all of these classic matches and all your favorite WrestleMania moments on the WWE Network. Would you like to watch Brock Lesnar's domination over several superstars like John Cena and Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman and blah, blah, blah on the WWE Network? Do you want to see the rise of Seth Rollins as he's now the Messiah of Monday Night Raw? You could watch Rollins' rise on the WWE. They don't push anything. I could be a better spokesman for the fucking WWE Network than the goons that they got working there now. You don't even push the network. Here's a fucking tip for you, Vince. Your ESPN streaming fucking business deal is going down the toilet. You better be fucking looking after the WWE Network. Because you ain't getting the fucking price that you want for the shit product that you got now from ESPN. You better start pushing the network. But they do it in such a lackadaisical way, like it's a fucking afterthought. I love the network. I do. But when you're showing me reruns on the live fucking telecasts on Friday and Monday, motherfucker, I'm not wasting 2 hours of my fucking night when I could be doing anything else to entertain myself to watch fucking reruns. And it's not even entertaining. I'll sit down and watch a rerun of Seinfeld fucking 16 times over. You're asking me to watch a WWE Network rerun that means absolutely nothing to anybody? Or the current build for WrestleMania? The John Cena Bray Wyatt match was utterly fucking boring. I didn't need to watch it a second time. In fact, I didn't. I didn't watch any of these matches. The fucking Royal Rumble, the Chamber, the John Cena match, the Charlotte match with Asuka. I didn't watch any of this shit. It's fucking boring. Boring. Even though I will say that triple threat match with Cena, Rollins, and Lesnar was one of the greatest triple threat matches of all time. But it has nothing to do with WrestleMania. It has nothing to do with WrestleMania. Absolutely nothing to do with what is happening on April 4 and April 5. Get better. Stop defending garbage, Bruce. Where is your creativity, Bruce? Or are you quarantined? Where is Ali? Don't worry about Ali. He ain't even on WrestleMania. He has nothing to do with WrestleMania season. I hope that he is safe as he's scaling a building somewhere in Gotham City. So SmackDown ratings were down, and that's the case there. So we got SmackDown, Raw, and NXT with no live audience. Usually I call him a clown. Because I got the thing queued up here. This is Corey Graves. We got, there you go. What did the clown say now? Corey Graves. But I can't really call him a clown. I can't call him a clown for the comments that he made recently about the fact that WWE has no crowds in attendance. He actually understands that these shows need a live audience. So we have Corey Graves saying this and giving his opinion on the WWE programs with no live audience. So he says this, and I quote, on After the Bell. Friday Night SmackDown, Monday Night Raw, and NXT are all rolling along as we go through whatever we're going through. It's given a really unique perspective to our shows. Yeah, it really shows how WWE is truly in the fucking doldrums that they are with the way that they're going about these shows. The feel of these shows, the way that they're going about these shows. The WWE is in the fucking doldrums of pro wrestling, and it's coming off that way with the presentation of these shows. I've been sitting on my couch watching most of it, or wherever I've been able to get eyes on it, and obviously the absence of fans is a glaring difference to anybody who's ever watched WWE before. And I'd say there's good parts and there's bad parts. Okay, he does have more to say, but I'm going to stop there. There is good parts and there are bad parts. The good parts are some guys who are just fucking phenomenal at their job and phenomenal at what they do, like Randy Orton and Edge, Triple H, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and shit like that. Shit like that. Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw. I even praised Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw for his promo with Kevin Owens in an empty performance center. Shit like that is the good. Because all of those segments and all of those promos with all of those individuals, they came off as masterclass. But some of those guys are in a league of their own, so you would expect that totally from guys like that. I was genuinely surprised by Rollins' promo because it was the most real and authentic and genuine I think I've ever seen Seth Rollins, to be perfectly honest with you. And the vibe of not only that promo, but the Randy Orton promo and the Edge promo, and then on NXT, which I did not review this week because I felt that there was no reason to, Triple H in the middle, moderating a stare down between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. That worked incredibly well in the setting of emptiness. Those are the good parts. Those particular performers in those segments worked absolutely brilliantly in the empty arena setting. Everything else that they did was fucking terrible. All this shows you is that pro wrestling cannot, and I stress, cannot operate without a live audience, especially WWE programming. AEW made it work last week. This week is a little bit different because the CDC came down with harder rules and regulations, only allowing 10 in an open area due to social distancing. So that's that. He goes on to say, hearing the superstars able to get through these promos and tell their stories and really delve into their characters has been really refreshing. Like I mentioned, all of the above. He would elaborate further, saying this, and I quote, I will start with the positive. That being the promos have been incredible. By some, not all. Hearing the superstars able to get through these promos and tell their stories, really delve into their characters, has been really refreshing. And having spoken in front of a live arena full of people, it can throw you off. It's nice to really see these guys like a Seth Rollins and a Randy Orton and Edge really be able to dive in and tell their stories from their character's perspective without any sort of outside interference or influence, without fans chanting what or booing, into the promo, or cheering along to the promo. And I just really like the dynamic that is provided for that particular aspect of the show. Yes, because it comes through more genuine. It comes off more genuine and real. And in fact, in a situation like Randy Orton and Edge, it made the storyline, which was already at a personal, intense level, main event level, it actually enhanced the overall feeling of the feud already, which was personal and intense, believe it or not. Now, Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, Rollins cut a fantastic promo, but at the end of the day, I don't know why they're feuding. Still to this day, after 2 months of them feuding on Monday Night Raw, I don't know why they are feuding. What are they feuding over? I don't know. If you have an answer for it, I'd love to hear it. But I'm pretty sure if you give me an explanation or an answer to my question, it will not make sense because it hasn't been detailed as to why they are feuding. What are they fighting over? Nothing. So Corey Graves is right on the money on After the Bell with how WWE has handled these empty arena shows. Going back to SmackDown, Paige. Paige was on SmackDown on Friday, and she was there, and she let everybody know and disappointed everybody that there will be a women's championship match on SmackDown for Bayley's women's championship at WrestleMania. Something that I honestly do not think needs to happen. PW Insider is reporting that Paige was there via Skype because she was ready to head out to the airport, but a late decision was made for her to stay home and call the show via Skype and end up on SmackDown via Skype. Dave Meltzer is reporting on Wrestling Observer that Paige and some other WWE stars reportedly refused to travel to the Performance Center for the SmackDown taping. This is almost certainly due to the outbreak going on. And again, who's to say that those in the Performance Center or in the Orlando area already, after seeing Dana Brooke get sent home and after seeing Rey Mysterio get sent home and whoever else might be sick that WWE hasn't notified anybody of, maybe the WWE roster already grounded there did not want to work the show out of safety to them during this difficult time. Meltzer says this, and I quote, Paige made the announcement by Skype because she didn't come, and I don't know if she could have. Well, I guess she could have. She was one of those not willing to come. There have been other people not willing to come, and WWE has been, both companies, both WWE and AEW, have been really good about it. Again, like I mentioned just before about the WrestleMania story. What is WWE going to do if someone goes to upper management in WrestleMania because they have nothing going for them? I mean, they're not getting paid. It's not really a WrestleMania. So who is really missing out on a WrestleMania taping if they don't show up there? What are you missing out on? Everything that you were to get or everything that you normally would get, you're not getting. You're just there working overtime for no extra benefit to you whatsoever. So what is WWE going to do if someone comes up to them and says, you know what, I refuse to work this show because I'm afraid for my well-being? What are they going to do? Can't fire them, can't suspend them, can't say no. You're going to have to give them their pass to go home, no matter how WWE wants to argue about it or not. So both companies have been really good about it, says Meltzer. You're not willing to come? Fine, no problem. So they did the taping, and they taped all these shows because they figured that was one of the main reasons why, you know, if they got that out, it's also a great way to keep the roster safe. Meltzer said also that both WWE and AEW have told wrestlers that they are free to stay home without consequences if they do not feel safe traveling. Meltzer said she was not one of those willing to come, and the companies have been good about it. Both wrestling companies should be commended for how they've handled everything with all these cancellations. Looks like wrestlers will not have to worry about travel for a while because WWE obviously taped Raw, SmackDown, WrestleMania will be taped tonight, Thursday. It was taped yesterday, so they'll have everything in the can, and they will have the Raw after Mania as well. After that, it's up in the air, and we don't know when the stay-at-home order will be lifted. So Paige announced that Bayley will defend against Tamina Snuka, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, Sasha Banks, and I believe it was Naomi. So that's 5, and then Bayley, 6. Dana Brooke was pulled. WWE sent her home. And WrestleMania, I'm sure, will fucking die 1,000 deaths because Dana Brooke is not on the fucking card. Miss one move herself. Miss, I signed a 5-year contract and literally do nothing to make myself better, Dana Brooke. Catering VIP, Dana Brooke. She got sent home. They should have sent Tamina fucking Snuka home. I don't even know why she's even in this fucking match. She hasn't even been on fucking TV, and here she is on a WrestleMania card. I guess if there's one WrestleMania that Tamina Snuka should be on, it's this one, but theoretically, it's fucking WrestleMania. Tamina Snuka is in a title match after being off TV for I don't even know how long. She's in a fucking title match. I wish Dana Brooke would have taken her with her into quarantine. Lacey Evans is there. You know how Vince wants to get her with the championship? Oh, you know, Miss America here, and she's against bullies there, and she's the model mom, and she stands up for all those that are being bullied. Whatever. Fucking blow me. Fucking nauseating garbage about Lacey Evans. I wouldn't be surprised if Lacey Evans walks out of WrestleMania by pinning Naomi for the fucking title, leaving Sasha and Bayley free of this fucking garbage. This is a match made, tailor-made, for Lacey Evans to walk out of WrestleMania without Sasha or Bayley taking the pin. It's an elimination match. Now, I don't know what that means. That rule could change. That stipulation could change. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but certainly looks like it's tailor-made for Lacey Evans to win that match. Now, I seen a lot of reports about Sasha and Bayley and that being the original plan. At this point, I don't even believe the rumors that it was the original plan. It might be the original plan that they want, that they conceived in their own heads, but WWE having this be the main women's storyline, I know a lot of people want to see it. There are an equal number of people that don't want to see it, and I understand why you don't want to see it, but there has to be a payoff somewhere. You know, they wrestled at TakeOver. It was one of the best women's matches the company's ever seen, and now the roles are reversed. Can't really shit on it when I'm sitting here defending Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, you know? So I do want to see it again, but how do we go about Bayley and Sasha Banks? Clearly, Bayley would have to win, and the title feud on SmackDown would be between Sasha and Bayley. I want Bayley to go back and slowly revert herself to being a babyface. I don't think the heel thing is working. If you want one woman in this thing to be a heel, it's Sasha Banks. She plays the heel role better. Bayley never got over as a heel. Just have her go back to being a babyface. I think people would embrace that a little bit more than Sasha Banks. And Sasha turning on her best friend, I think, is a better scenario than Bayley turning on Sasha Banks and being, Big Bad Bayley. I think Sasha needs to remain the heel in this situation. She needs to stab Bayley in the back, and Bayley needs to revert back to being babyface while Sasha remains heel. That's the only way it's going to work. I don't want to see anything else. Sasha is a better heel than she is babyface. So hopefully WWE knows what they're doing, and that, I think, is the plan when things go back to normal with the Women's Championship on SmackDown with Sasha and Bayley. John Cena and Bray Wyatt. They got a match happening at WrestleMania. Not really all that excited about it. I still am salty over the fact that Bray Wyatt is not the Universal Champion and John Cena is not chasing number 17, but that is all hearsay now. It's in the rear view mirror. I don't think any of that really matters right now. Depending on the situation that we got or seeing the situation that we got, it really doesn't matter at this juncture. But John Cena and Bray Wyatt are on a collision course for a WrestleMania rematch. It would be a rematch from their WrestleMania 30 match, which was utterly boring. So I'm not really all too keen on seeing the match now in its current state with no fans. Now, the fact that it has no fans might actually work out to be a beneficial thing and actually might work in their favor. So I'm going to embrace this as something I hope turns out to be good, or something that I hope turns out to be one of the best things on WrestleMania. Now, it's been reported that rather than just have a regular match inside the Performance Center in Orlando, other matches, including this one, will be filmed in closed set other locations away from the Performance Center. One of these is going to be John Cena and Bray Wyatt. Now, in regards to other locations, it was revealed this week that AJ Styles and The Undertaker will have a boneyard match at WrestleMania. I don't know what that means. I don't know what type of match a boneyard match is, but I would assume that is the current WWE products way of calling a buried alive match a boneyard match. Because we can't say buried alive match with all these countless deaths going on due to the pandemic that is sweeping across the globe. So I'm assuming that a boneyard match is a buried alive match. Now, it's been speculated that this will be a buried alive match, and we still don't have any confirmation on that. It could take place at a graveyard. So we don't know what WWE has planned for that. It might already be filmed. We don't know. It is now being reported that another Mania match will be filmed outside the typical arena in a cinematic way, and that is a match between The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and John Cena. This is according to Gorilla Position on Twitter. WWE is going to have the match be a full-blown movie treatment, cinematic, unique look and feel. The match will also be held at a closed set, perhaps at a warehouse or something that mimics the House of Horrors match. They might wrestle in an abandoned warehouse somewhere. They might wrestle in a Firefly Funhouse type setting. I don't know. This is what they said on Twitter. And I quote, apparently John Cena vs. The Fiend at WrestleMania will get a full-blown movie treatment with a unique look and feel. Rumors suggest a match shot on a closed set in a warehouse like House of Horrors, as long as there is no projections of semen and snakes and worms or whatever the fuck Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton had at WrestleMania 31. Awful. Absolutely awful. After speaking to, was it WrestleMania 31 or 33? I don't even know. Whatever the fucking WrestleMania that it was one of the worst matches in the history of WrestleMania. After speaking to sources, no, it's WrestleMania 33. Because WrestleMania 31 was Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. WrestleMania 33, I apologize, you fucking cretins that are already fucking clicking the keyboard. Let me correct JD. Let me correct him. WrestleMania 33, assholes. After speaking to our sources, they say, we can confirm that this is indeed the plan, with Cena and Wyatt set to battle out on a special but unknown closed set venue. So, the ideas, other sources are reporting, other sources are reporting that some of the ideas that Bray has pitched about the upcoming match will be in effect. Wyatt has pitched for both versions of his character to appear in the match. So we're going to get The Fiend and we're going to get Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt. We might get The Fiend inside a warehouse-like setting, dark and gloomy and very satanic and evil and dark. And then we might get Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt. Maybe they drift in between alternate universes. I don't know. And we'll see Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt inside the Funhouse with Huskus the Pig and Rambling Rabbit and Abby the Witch and fucking the Crow there, the Buzzard. Whatever the fuck his name is. I can't think of it right now. Mercy the Buzzard. I need some fucking coffee. I'm struggling here, so bear with me, okay? I've only had about fucking 4 cups today. So, this is yet to happen in any of Wyatt's previous matches where we've seen The Fiend and regular human Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt. But it is now certainly achievable with the match being pre-taped in Kevin Dunn in his hands. He can work his magic and it could take place wherever they want. It don't even have to step foot in the actual ring. Bray appeared in his cardigan on a recent episode of SmackDown to confront John Cena when John Cena was there with Michael Cole to talk about his match with The Fiend at WrestleMania. So we haven't seen Bray Wyatt do that all that often at all on live TV. So there are other reports that also say that John Cena is lending his creative ideas to this match as well. Now, this backs up a previous report where John Cena was, I believe, in the plans for WrestleMania, and Cena himself said he wanted something substantial at WrestleMania. At the time, we didn't know what that meant. We didn't know if that meant John Cena putting over a younger talent like Bray Wyatt or a younger talent like the Velveteen Dream, because he's been high on several NXT talents. We didn't know if that meant John Cena in a substantial role, meaning he was going to chase number 17 and the title was going to be on the line for John Cena this WrestleMania season. John Cena wanted to have some, or at least half, creative control over what he did at WrestleMania, obviously working in conjunction with whoever he was going to be working with. Now that previous report is confirmed because John Cena has ideas and pitched ideas that will be in this match with Bray Wyatt, and I'm excited to see what John Cena's creativity, because we all know what Bray Wyatt could do. I'm excited to see what type of creativity John Cena is going to lend to enhance this match further. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, I don't want to see John Cena's creativity. Bray Wyatt, give him 100% full reign over this match and he'll work wonders. Yes, I get it. but it is a 50-50 partnership here. If Bray Wyatt has his ideas, I'm sure John Cena is going to be an open ear for Bray Wyatt. I'm sure John Cena is going to put over Bray Wyatt, even though you don't believe me. And I think John Cena is back to do whatever Bray Wyatt wants to do to make sure and ensure he is over by the end of WrestleMania 36. So, other sources have finally stated that the match will take place in this setting as a way to overcome the fact that there will be no fans in attendance. Obviously, it doesn't take a fucking scientist to figure that one out. It will also allow WWE to explore creatively and really take the Fiend's character to where we envisioned it as a fan base all along. I hope they do right by this. You know, their backs are against the wall here. Who knows what's going to happen as far as WrestleMania goes? This is WWE's opportunity to make some of this right. They will not get all of it right. At all. And if you think they will, you're an idiot. They will get some of it right. In fact, WrestleMania might be appearing in front of no fans or happening in front of no fans, but I don't think, now especially with this news, I don't think this is going to work in a negative way towards WWE. I honestly think that some people are going to be very intrigued and will go out of their way to watch what WWE does, and then waiting like a fucking sniper on a rooftop, like me, I'll be waiting here, waiting to pick it apart when things go wrong. They tried, but I just feel at the end of the night, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you the first thing I will say on the fucking review after a 2-day, 8 matches each night, 4-hour each night, WrestleMania on Saturday and Sunday, I will sit here and tell you the first thing out of my mouth will be, they should have fucking postponed the show. I'm telling you, it's what's going to happen. It's a feeling that I have after 2 nights of this shit, after 2 nights of this WrestleMania, no fans in attendance garbage. Even though WWE was trying to make it compelling and cinematic and do things that they've never done before, I don't know why you would give any hope or benefit of the doubt to these people. They do nothing but let you down. Do you truly think that Vince McMahon is going to let John Cena and Bray Wyatt have free reign over this fucking match? Are you kidding me? Vince McMahon is going to be sitting in the director's chair with his megaphone as if they're on a movie set going over this, and nothing is going to get done. It's going to be Vince McMahon's vision and not John Cena and Bray Wyatt. Why would you think? Why would you ever give these people the benefit of the doubt? Look at what we've got on Raw and SmackDown during this pandemic. Do you think WrestleMania is going to be any different? I don't think so. They certainly do not have my good standing whatsoever. They haven't done anything to work towards me giving them a good standing. When they do, I'll tell you. I haven't seen it. So I don't know why you would sit there or fucking sit behind your keyboard like a fucking troll you are and give these people the benefit of the doubt when you knowingly sit there with a show that is fucking awful every single week. You can't do it. It's not right. These are the people that are the detriment to why the product fucking sucks in the first place. I'm looking forward to it. I hope they nail it. I really do. But I'm not keeping my fucking, I'm not sitting here with my fingers crossed, hoping and praying and fucking giving WWE faith of any kind. I'm going into this negative. Surprise me. I'm going into this with low expectations. It is your job to raise my expectations. Let's see what they could do. WWE only brought in 4 producers to the extended days of taping for Raw and SmackDown. Now, it was reported last week that WWE was going to be taping several shows because of fear of Florida, or in this case, Orlando, which was brought down this week, going into a stay-at-home edict. And now, on Thursday, Orlando will be locked down. A report has since emerged indicating that WWE stars and production staff will be working very late nights, if not already, over the coming week to ensure that enough content is taped for the foreseeable future. That foreseeable future ends after the Raw, after WrestleMania. With almost every wrestler on WWE's books based in Orlando right now, the company has reportedly even taken over an entire hotel to house all of them. However, the only select backstage staff that will be working the show right now is for producers, says PW Insider. They're reporting that WWE has only brought in 4 backstage producers for the tapings that will take place over the next week. Producers that don't live in Orlando will not be present at the tapings. Only Florida-based producers are working the tapings. PW Insider is told that Jamie Noble, Adam Pearce, Road Dogg, and Shawn Michaels, who is pitching in, have been at the tapings. WWE did not bring in producers who live in other parts of the country. That is very interesting. Normally, when you got so many cooks in the kitchen, normally when you got a Bruce Pritchard and you got a Michael P.S. Hayes and you got all these fucking people, you got Johnny Ace, right? You got all these guys, Jeff Jarrett and Abyss, right? All these different producers, the fucking 20 or 25 or so different producers WWE has. When you got all of them working on an entire show, things can get convoluted. And when you look at the names here, Adam Pearce has done great with some of the younger talent on 205 Live. Jamie Noble. I don't know what Jamie Noble's name has been attached to in recent memory, but Adam Pearce, Road Dogg, and you got Shawn Michaels working these shows. If this is the core that are working, I don't know if there's any women producers backstage. I don't know if Sarah Amato is going to be working with the women that take place at WrestleMania or that are on the WrestleMania show. If Sarah Amato is there, Sarah Del Rey is there, who handles all the women matches in NXT. If it is set to these 5, I'm intrigued by that because it's going to have a different feel. A Shawn Michaels produced match is going to be vastly different than what we see done by a Michael P.S.A.'s or a Johnny Ace or a Jeff Jarrett, right? Road Dogg has got the NXT treatment. He probably knows to do a lot more than he did on the main roster and a lot more comfortably. Who's to say with him and Shawn Michaels working some matches that it's not going to be different than what we see normally on a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown Live. Now, I don't know if they're working WrestleMania. I don't know if they're working Raw or SmackDown or all these shows. I just don't know. But that motto of there's too many cooks in the kitchen, or that saying that there's too many cooks in the kitchen, this could actually benefit WWE to have these matches be presented in a much better way than the convoluted, formulaic, stale, boring way that we see on the main roster. So I'm very interested to see what happens there. Now, this certainly makes sense. WWE did not want to have too many people, and that's another reason they couldn't have all these producers. So they had whoever was based in Orlando because of the CDC rules and regulations. They can't have all these producers. By the producers being there alone that are in the company, they would be over the limit. So this certainly makes sense. WWE will not have to have too many people in the same building at the same time. Only inviting certain producers to come to the shows will ensure that the buildings are not too crowded and they abide by the CDC rules and regulations. Now, again, I don't know if these 4 are the only ones there. We'll see. Maybe news leaks or comes out in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, or the days leading up to WrestleMania, rather, or the weeks after WrestleMania. We don't know. But it's very interesting to think about. These 4 may be completely in charge of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and WrestleMania being taped this week. Very interesting indeed. WWE. This is a story that I keep seeing on the dirt sheets and in the news. The Revival are being fucked by WWE. WWE is keeping the Revival from joining All Elite Wrestling. It is at this point an inevitability that both Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson are going to be elite. I had some fucking idiot in the comments section of my AEW video. I had my AEW review go up on Wednesday night. I was joined by my good friend and someone who I respect immensely, Ticket Drew. He asked me to do the Dynamite review with him. I said, sure, you could come on the channel. And we had a great time doing it. It was a good, fun, flowing conversation between two guys who love pro wrestling, right? I might be more of an AEW guy than he is. I might be a WWE guy in certain aspects. I shit on the company a lot, but he is a true fan of WWE. His opinion matters to me, okay? There was a conversation on Wednesday where, we talked about Jon Moxley. And Jon Moxley, Drew did not think Moxley, when he won the title from Chris Jericho, was going to be the guy to bunker down and really lead AEW into this stretch over the spring and summer months. He was not sure if Moxley was the guy. He would have rather Chris Jericho be the world champion because he feels that feud still had more legs to run on AEW television. Then we got into a discussion about who is going to potentially be the challenger. It looks like they're setting up Jake Hager for Jon Moxley, whether it's a non-title or title match, we don't know. I mentioned Lance Archer. I mentioned MJF. I mentioned some possibilities about where the title goes and how the title feud for the world title ends up, who it might possibly end up on. I landed on Cody Rhodes. I think that's an inevitability in itself. But I feel like AEW isn't done bringing in guys, especially if they create a secondary title. Now, Brian Cage, Matt Hardy is there. Brian Cage is another name. We got Brodie Lee, who's the Exalted One, which we'll talk about a little later. Matt Hardy and Brodie Lee just recently came over. Lance Archer's there. He's on TV now. Brian Cage is in the pipeline. The Revival are absolutely coming in. Who's to say WWE doesn't, do anything with Daniel Bryan? He's a free agent. He's a free agent in a couple of months. I believe somewhere in July, August, maybe he's a free agent. So who's to say AEW doesn't make a push for him to come on in? Maybe he wants something different. Maybe he wants to join AEW. We don't know. We don't know. That would be something if Daniel Bryan joins All Elite Wrestling. Imagine the fucking possibilities there. Who else could AEW bring in? I mentioned those names. I mentioned Sami Callihan. I think Sami Callihan is a phenomenal talent. I think he's fucking awesome. I think Sami Callihan could main event any wrestling show on the planet. I think he is a main event guy. Is he going to be someone that's going to bring in 1 million plus ratings? Is he going to move the needle? Probably not. But that doesn't take away from the type of fucking guy that Sami Callihan would be to that AEW roster. Then I got some fucking cretin in the comments mentioning to me, enough with these names. We need to see more Darby. We need to see more MJF. We need to see this and we need to see that. People who are on AEW's roster right now. You ain't going to grow that way. You ain't going to grow that way. As long as the priority is still Darby and MJF and Scorpio Sky and Phoenix and Pentagon and Pac and guys like that. Seriously. You're not going to grow by honing in and making a priority out of those guys while you're not signing free agents. Guys that could help bolster your roster. Now, Drew mentioned Ryback. I don't care to see Ryback in AEW. If Ryback ends up in pro wrestling, it might end up being AEW. Because WWE fucked him over. They fucked him over. They want nothing to do with Ryback. I don't want Ryback in AEW. AEW is everything that they spoke about. They're different. They don't want to go back down that, just signing people for the sake of signing people. Ryback does not embody what AEW is doing. So I get it. I never said Ryback is AEW bound or I want to see Ryback in AEW. Drew mentioned something about Ryback possibly being in AEW. I mentioned that Ryback is an intelligent guy. When you listen to him speak, he is very well versed. I mentioned Brian Cage. I mentioned Sami Callihan. And then this cretin says, oh, we don't need this to be a WWE landfill or a place for rejects. You just got Brodie Lee, who's the fucking Exalted One, who's going to be a major part of AEW television. You got Matt Hardy, who was on WWE television just recently as of a month ago. He's on AEW television. Is Matt Hardy a reject? What if the WWE gets the Revival to a point where they are no longer with the company and they end up signing with AEW? Are they going to be labeled as rejects? Is Pac a reject? Are you claiming that Billy Gunn is a reject, being that he's a backstage producer for AEW? Is Jim Ross labeled a reject, being that he's the main play-by-play guy? Is Tony Schiavone a reject? Is Taz a reject? Would Daniel Bryan be labeled a reject if he ended up in AEW? This is the natural progression of AEW. They have to go out and sign talent. If they don't, they will fail. The ultimate goal is changing the world. You can't change the world by rinsing and repeating the same matches over and over again with the talent that you want to see on TV and the talent that you want AEW to put stock in. Is Jericho a WWE reject? They signed this guy and gave him the world championship. Everybody under the fucking sun had nothing but praise, overwhelming praise for the job that AEW did with Chris Jericho. And the job that Jericho did himself to reinvent himself yet again. Is Jon Moxley a fucking reject? Being that he came over from The Shield and joined AEW. People need to calm the fuck down. AEW will change. I stated this months ago. Come October, and here I am saying it again. Come October, they will look like a completely different company. Dynamite is not going to be the same on October 2nd, 2020 as it looked on October 2nd, 2019. Get with the program. If you want to label them a reject landfill of WWE superstars, then you're showing me the fucking stupidity that you really do embody. Here I am thinking logically on how AEW should be growing. And that's the way you do. Got news to tell you. Scott Dawson and Cash Wheeler are coming in. They're coming in. Now, the WWE is keeping the Revival from joining AEW. Meltzer says Dawson's contract is up in a couple weeks. I know some people think it's over. It's not over, but he's got a couple weeks left. He hasn't gotten paid in 6 or 7 weeks. It's fucked up. It's really, really fucked up. Then you got Dash Wilder, Daniel Wheeler, who will probably change his name to Cash Wheeler in AEW. He's been extended already by WWE. His contract won't end till mid-June. He broke his jaw. He was out for 2.5 months. WWE didn't forget that. They added time on top of his contract to say fuck you. So they can't go anywhere. They can't go anywhere. If Dawson's contract is up in a couple weeks and Wilder's contract doesn't end until June, theoretically, they can't show up the way that they want in AEW. And who's to say that WWE doesn't fuck Dash Wilder over twice? They extended him till June. Now, I don't know if it's legal or not. Probably not. But given WWE and their pettiness, I don't put anything past them. Who's to say that they don't release Dash Wilder before his contract is actually up and give him and invoke that 90-day no-compete clause just to fuck him even more? So he's got to wait till July, August, and September to join AEW while Scott Dawson not making any money. Not in the ring doing what he loves to do. I would not put it past them. Who's to say they don't do that to Scott Dawson now? Right before his contract is up. Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder have been involved in a friendly rivalry with the Young Bucks. It's going to happen by the end of the year, no question. The two teams have always been seemed, in the eyes of the fans, always seem to be the two teams that really you would label as two of the best tag teams in the world. And they've always been destined to just kind of eventually meet in a mega clash of tag teams. And given a little bit more time, it will happen in AEW. But WWE is petty keeping the Revival from joining AEW. Guys, quickly, before we get into the Monday Night Raw review, I don't know what you guys are using as far as your wallet goes, but I know I use the Ridge. The Ridge is my go-to every single time I am out and about doing my errands, or if I'm sitting in my favorite craft beer bar and I pull my wallet out to buy myself a cold beverage, I know the Ridge has got me covered. The Ridge helps you carry what you guys need to every single day, from streamlining how you carry cash and cards in their flagship Ridge wallet to their portable charging commuter backpacks. They want to make the most out of what you bring with you every single day. How long have you guys thought about maybe buying the Ridge wallet? Has it been a while? I hope it's not, because I'm about to give you guys a great deal. I've been using the Ridge wallet for about 2 years now, close to 2 years. I love it. It's durable, it's sleek, it's stylish, and the best thing I like about it, it's got RFID blocking quality, so I know that whatever I'm carrying, whether it's my credit cards, my debit card, or my ID, that my identity and my card information is 100% safe being housed by the Ridge. The Ridge is so confident that you'll enjoy their product, they made it as simple as possible. Free shipping so you guys can get it fast. Free returns in case you don't like it, which I don't know why you wouldn't. And if you do like it, there's a lifetime guarantee. There's also 30,000 five-star reviews, so they've got a lot to be confident about. The Ridge is super durable, made from military-grade materials like titanium and carbon fiber. It is proven to be bulletproof, waterproof, and yes, Terry Funk proof. Now, you guys want your deal? Here it is. Ridge.com/script. At checkout, you're going to use code SCRIPT, and you will be gifted 10% off your purchase. Once again, guys, that's Ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT at checkout at Ridge.com, and make sure that you guys go out there and support the leading brand in men's wallets. That is the Ridge, and I want to thank them for supporting the podcast right here on Off the Script. Monday Night Raw seemed to offer up a different presentation as far as the show goes. After watching what Dynamite did on Wednesday last week, WWE figured that they would copy what AEW did and move the hard cam facing the stage so that we're not looking at empty seats and a lifeless arena on top of the silence that we're hearing from said empty arena. They had the hard cam facing the stage and the big Tron on the stage, which was a better presentation aesthetically and visually. But Raw's viewership was the lowest it's been since December of 2019, and rightfully so. The show was fucking terrible. Imagine that. They got to resort to looking at good old AEW, little old AEW that's not competition, they said. Yet you're looking at them to figure out ways on how to make your show better. This is a multi-billion-dollar company, the leading brand in sports entertainment, the biggest brand in all of pro wrestling. And you mean to tell me that these fucking people don't know what's right and what's wrong? That doesn't bode well for the future of WWE if they can't get simple things like that correctly. Now, the Raw viewership was the lowest since December 2019. Rightfully so, the show fucking sucked. Raw this week averaged 2.01 million viewers, dropping 14% from last week, even airing Brock Lesnar vs. John Cena vs. Seth Rollins from the 2015 Royal Rumble and Charlotte vs. Asuka from WrestleMania 34. Why is Monday Night Raw's ratings the lowest since December 2019? There you go. That's the reason why. You're offering nothing of exciting content, exciting new content for those watching the show. Every time you show a rerun, the ratings continue to go down. Awful. Now, with little stock that should be put into these numbers, obviously, some people will say, well, you can't really gauge the true rating of the show, being that we're in a worldwide pandemic. Whatever. If WWE was putting on good shows, then the ratings would be the way that they should. Now, AEW Dynamite. This is why I don't understand. AEW Dynamite put on one of their best shows ever with no fucking fans in attendance. The fans, the interaction came from the roster. The roster themselves separated by the barricade, heels on one side, baby faces on the other. They got one of the highest ratings in the history of the fucking show. But I am to give WWE a pass because of the current pandemic that's going on. Blow me. I will never give WWE a pass for what's going on. If the shows are good, then the rating would be up. Dynamite proved it. Why do I gotta give WWE a pass? Get the fuck out of my mentions, you fucking cocksucker. Okay? Stop defending garbage. Enough. The show sucked. Suck it up. Raw sucked. SmackDown sucked. WWE's vision of these empty arena shows and their presentation and the shows that they put on sucked. Stop. The rating is where it was because it deserved to be there. Enough. The first to third hour drop of 24.6% was the second biggest drop in the history of the show. trailing only the November 11, 2019 episode against the NFL. Now, the third hour did a 1.73 million viewership, which was the least watch hour of Raw of the modern era, with the exception of the 3-hour show, the third hour on the December 23rd episode. That includes the late 2018 Christmas Eve and New Year's shows. The overall number beat only those two shows historically, as well as the December 23rd Christmas week tape show in 2019. The first hour of Raw was third in the 18 to 49 demo for the night, while the second hour was 8th, and the third hour was 10th. The shows that beat it were new shows and 2 episodes of Love and Hip Hop, which beat hours 2 and 3. The shows that beat it were new shows and 2 episodes of Love and Hip Hop. I'm assuming that's on VH1 or BET or whatever. One of those fucking irrelevant stations that nobody watches anymore, right? Like MTV. Who the fuck watches MTV? I watch Catfish. I like that show. I'm a sucker for that show, Catfish. But you guys get my point. Really, Monday Night Raw is in the doldrums it's in because the show was just a lazy piece of garbage. It was lazy. The first to third hour drops were 32% in women 18 to 49, 27% in men 18 to 49, 10% in women 12 to 34, 28% in men 12 to 34, and 19% in over 50. The audience was down 23% from the same week last year. Do better. That's all I have for you as far as advice goes. Will they listen? Of course not. I'm on the poster in the locker room, public enemy number 1. Nobody fucking gives me any credit for what I say here, even though I spew nothing but fucking truth. Under the so-called negativity, what have I stated here that has been factually wrong? That's your homework. What have I stated that is factually wrong? Nothing. There's a little cheat code for you, right? Before you hit the fucking start button on your PS4 and you want to enter the cheat codes to get unlimited ammo, here you go. That's your cheat code. Nothing. WWE. Major update on Samoa Joe joining Monday Night Raw. I hope he doesn't, just for the simple fact that when he does, what difference is it going to mean to the show? You're going to debut Joe or have Joe return in an empty arena? Don't even bother. Don't even bother. WWE might not even have shows for Joe to come back to at this rate. Now, Samoa Joe was suspended for 30 days on February 24th after breaching WWE's wellness policy. If you add 30 days to February 24th, you get March 25th. So Samoa Joe is no longer suspended and is available to be booked for TV tapings moving forward. Obviously, he was not. Because why would he? It's in the tail end of quote-unquote empty mania season. So what is he going to add to the shows? Nothing. Rollins and Owens have moved on without him. So there's no reason for him to be on the show, and I would not want Joe to come back to empty arena shows. So it's been a rough few months for Joe. He suffered multiple concussions and broken bones, but hopefully the next time he returns, it will be a long time without any setbacks. Prior to his suspension, Joe was involved in the Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens feud, so there is speculation that he could return to be at ringside for the Rollins-Owens match at WrestleMania 36, which, obviously, like I said, was being taped on Wednesday and Thursday. Of course, WWE is trying to have as little contact between stars as possible at the moment, so Joe being at ringside might not be the best idea. It might not fall into the CDC rules and regulations of 10 in a surrounding area. Now, this report comes from lordsofpain.net. Take it with a grain of salt, but Joe is back. Now, while his wellness policy suspension is over, Joe had suffered a concussion shortly before being suspended, and it isn't clear whether he has been cleared to return to the ring just yet. His suspension might be up, but we don't know if he's actually cleared due to concussion symptoms. It seems that everything in wrestling is pretty much up in the air at the moment. But Samoa Joe, obviously, I am a big fan of Joe. I think he adds a lot to the show when the show is thriving at 100%. With Monday Night Raw, even though they get things back to normal, they're still not thriving at 100%. But Joe is for me, a legit, I would say, momentum booster to Monday Night Raw. He is definitely one of those guys that adds a nice little element to the show that you really don't get from a regular edition of Monday Night Raw. So hopefully he'll be back in the ring sooner rather than later, and things in this world get back to being normal sooner rather than later, so we can get Samoa Joe and his return means something on Monday Night Raw in front of live human beings. WWE, when they decided on AJ Styles versus The Undertaker, or Mark Calloway, whatever the fuck you want to call him, at WrestleMania 36. Some light has been shed on exactly when WWE decided to have The Undertaker and AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36 in 2 weeks. News of the match being in the books first came out on February 13th. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Live, good old Dave mentioned this. That match was decided the week it got out was the week it was decided. You know, like most of these matches, the week that they've got out, it's not like there were matches being hidden. The day you heard about the match with Elias and Corbin, it's probably been about 2 weeks. It's not like any other year. That's one of the reasons why people say it's a weak card, because they didn't fucking decide on the card. It's not like they've had this long direction. WWE having long direction? Yeah, right. It's like WrestleMania is here. What are we going to do? Who are we going to put on the card? Goldberg wasn't booked for this card. That just happened because Vince McMahon changed his mind. Imagine that. The biggest pro wrestling company, the company that these fucking irrelevant, brain-dead scumbags on social media defend to the death, to their last dying breath. Your biggest show of the year, the biggest wrestling show in the industry. How do you like the biggest show of the year being booked weeks, finalized weeks, decided upon weeks before it actually airs? That is a fucking pathetic scenario. That's not the way I do business. This show was conceived in about 4 weeks. Meanwhile, this show realistically should have been thought out and planned, and at least it should have been fucking a thought bubble after SummerSlam. Should have been in pencil by Survivor Series. It should have been in pen by the Royal Rumble, and then by the end of January, literally after the Royal Rumble, this shit should have been written in fucking blood. That's the way you do things. I don't know how the fuck you people operate, but I mean, you got to have things planned out for the biggest show of the year. Goldberg wasn't even on this show. Vince said, you know what, I want Goldberg on the show. Let's manage him. Let's manage to get him in there. You fucking kidding me? Baron Corbin and Elias came up, 2 weeks ago? Rob Gronkowski just got signed. Yeah, let's put him on the WrestleMania card. Are you fucking serious? Bayley has a match that was booked last week on the card. You mean to tell me you don't have a fucking match planned for Bayley at WrestleMania, or Sasha Banks at WrestleMania? You give them 3 weeks of build? You don't know what the fuck you're doing with your 2 biggest women in the entire world when it comes to pro wrestling? Women's pro wrestling? Well, what am I watching here? What am I reporting on? I'm reporting on fucking people that operate under the worst fucking conditions. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. The sheer stupidity that comes out of this company is mind-boggling. It's even more mind-boggling how you got people defending this shit. If this is how you operate your day-to-day life, my God, you must have your life in fucking shambles. It's not the way I do it. I think before I do something. I plan and contemplate before I actually go and do something. I don't do it. I don't think and just do it. Or I just don't do it. I think before I do everything. You guys get what I'm saying. Fucking stop defending garbage, please. Stop defending garbage. The only thing that is WrestleMania worthy is Edge and Randy Orton. That's it. Edge was recently interviewed, and he wants matches with NXT superstars. Edge took part in a WWE telephone conference call and answered questions on a number of topics, including who he might want to have matches with down the road. More specifically, he commented on NXT and some of the performers there. There are so many talents, you can seriously point to everyone on the roster, Edge stated. He then added he's gotten to know Tommaso Ciampa well because they've dealt with similar injuries. He'd like to face Keith Lee and thinks very highly of the Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole. Dream being an interesting character, Cole being a workhorse. But the two people he's immensely enjoying right now are Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano. To me, the guy who is dialed in and completely found what it is he's supposed to do is Finn Balor, Edge explained. It's exciting to watch him right now. He then threw a lot of love towards Johnny Gargano's way, saying his matches are off the charts good. To me, he and Balor set the template for what an NXT match should be going forward. Can't disagree with them there. Balor has looked... This is the best Balor has looked in the WWE, period. The intensity, the facial expressions, the body language, the intensity of his matches, the fucking promos he's cutting, the attitude that he's got. This is the best that Finn Balor has looked, period, in the WWE. And look at the fucking way Triple H has taken him in NXT. The way he was treated on the main roster, and the way Triple H has now transformed him again in NXT. And some people still shit on the way Triple H does things and operates. As far as I'm concerned, Triple H creates magic in NXT. Vince kills that magic. Johnny Gargano, you could fucking call him a vanilla midget all you want. You can make fun of his size. You can make fun of his promos. You are a fucking blinded idiot. Johnny Gargano is one of the best professional wrestlers in this industry, bar none. If you don't think so, your opinion is irrelevant to me. At that point, it's not even a fucking opinion. It is sheer stupidity, and please don't spread it because it's fucking more contagious than whatever's going around right now. If Edge is this excited about working with a guy like Johnny Gargano or Finn Balor or Velveteen Dream and Keith Lee, you know, obviously his word means a lot. Those names... Balor's a little bit older, but those names are the future of this business. If someone like Edge is mentioning anything regarding those names in the same breath as himself and wanting a match with them. Now, I hope none of that happens because those guys to wrestle Edge would need to be on the main roster. And I don't want Johnny Gargano on the main roster. I don't want Keith Lee on the main roster. I don't want to see Velveteen Dream on the main roster. He'll be dreaming of NXT while he's in the hands of Vince McMahon. And I don't want to see Balor anywhere near the main roster ever again. So much so that Tommaso Ciampa said he would fucking retire from pro wrestling if he got drafted to Monday Night Raw SmackDown Live. What the fuck does that tell you? So, for these matches to happen, Edge would need to be in NXT. Now, that's not going to happen. And you certainly don't want any of those names on the main roster. So, the only way these matches are going to happen is if you fucking dream about them while laying down at night, while you're looking into your wife's eyes, getting ready to fucking fuck her at the end of the evening. Honey, I am dreaming of fucking Johnny Gargano versus Edge. You might be dreaming of just Edge. I don't fucking know, depending on the way you swing. I don't fucking know. But regardless of that, I think we need to keep these matches in video game land. Because that's the only way those guys will not get fucked up or their careers will be ruined otherwise. Speaking of NXT, they lost in the ratings again. No shit. Are you surprised? I'm not. Dynamite wasn't even that good of a show overall, but they still crushed NXT in the ratings. NXT got a rating of 669,000 live viewers for an actual live show. Dynamite drew 819,000 viewers. And NXT did not rank in the top 50 on cable. You wonder why? Because WWE, they have produced garbage on Raw, garbage on SmackDown, so you knew it would have a trickle-down effect to NXT. Now, the full demographics were not even available for NXT because they didn't rank in the top 50, so, I mean, you guys don't give a shit about that anyway, but here are the demo numbers for Dynamite. Viewers 18 to 49, 0.34. Female viewers 18 to 49, 0.23. Male viewers 18 to 49, they did a 0.5. They did 18 to 49 demographic, 0.18. Female viewers 12 to 34, 0.11. Male viewers 12 to 34, 0.18. Viewers 25 to 54, 0.38. Kind of falls in line with where they usually are anyway. And viewers over 50, a 0.29. NXT drew a dismal 0.20 in the 18 to 49 demo. There you go. NXT was a good show. I did not even do a review because there's no point in me doing a review. There's no fucking storylines. There's no takeover to talk about. There's no storylines at all. The only thing that was even worth anything on that show was the debut of a new tag team, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa being set to take place in 2 weeks, being moderated by Triple H. And then during that segment, they both looked to the big screen, and here comes Killer Kross. We all knew it was Killer Kross. We don't know if he's actually going to be going under the name of Killer Kross, but he was there. He interrupted their promo, and that lasting image is the last thing that you've seen on NXT before they went off the air. NXT was a good show. Cameron Grimes had a great match with Tony Nese, but you would expect nothing less from those guys. It doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic, and Damian Priest, they're being set up for the North American Championship. What else can I honestly say about that? We've seen Priest kind of come into his own, wanting the North American Championship. Dominik Dijakovic and Keith Lee have battled it out fucking time and time again on NXT TV. It's all going to come to a boil eventually on NXT TV. Candice LeRae got involved in the ladder match. She won her match to qualify. Io Shirai beat Aaliyah. Io Shirai is back on WWE TV after Aaliyah took out Xia Li, which was supposed to be a rematch from months ago after Xia Li broke Aaliyah's nose. In comes Io Shirai after Aaliyah thought she was going to get a free pass into the ladder match. Honey, believe me, you in a ladder match, your nose and your fucking plastic tits and your fucking fake lips would all be destroyed in a ladder match that consisted of Candice LeRae and Io Shirai, amongst others. Mia Yim. Give me a fucking break. The fact that Aaliyah thought that she would be in that field of six and fit in is fucking downright laughable. She is a Billie Kay, Peyton Royce type wrestler. I don't want to see anything with Aaliyah on my television. So in comes Io Shirai, and I'm glad that she's back on TV. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa had an unbelievable back and forth. Obviously, people are excited about this. There are some who are souring on this. I don't give a shit. The roles are reversed. This story needs to be finished. Triple H stated that this is it. This is it. If William Regal is here, he wanted you fired. I'm not going to fire you, but I'm going to give you guys one more opportunity, and this is it, to get this shit out of the way. I don't give a shit where it happens. I'll give you guys a venue. I'll give you guys a referee, and we can get this thing over with. And if you break my rules, you'll both be fired by me personally. That's what was the basis of this entire conversation. I made a video on Wednesday afternoon. I did an off-the-script extra where NXT had it in the news where they were going to spread out the takeover matches through the month of April. Now, I think most of these matches have already been filmed. I think they filmed these matches on Sunday. So, WWE gave you the statement that starting April 1st, you'll see all these matches spread across the month of April on NXT TV. And I'm asking myself, how is that possible? Because I thought they just filmed Raw and SmackDown back to back. They filmed like 4 shows of Raw and SmackDown on the weekend. I didn't think that included NXT, but apparently it did. So when I seen the statement, I'm like, how are they going to do that if the state of Orlando is going to be in lockdown? How are they going to get these matches out? I thought they'd be fucked in the end. But apparently they got all these matches saved up and ready to go. So they got these matches edited. They're in the vault, and we'll be seeing them spread out across April. The one match I was worried about, though, was Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. If there was one match out of all these matches that could have waited until things got back to normal, it would have been that one. They deserve an audience. They deserve a stipulation. They deserve to go out on the grandest stage. And Triple H even said that. I want this match. This match deserves the grandest stage. Johnny Gargano says, I don't need a fucking stage. I don't need a grand stage. Just give me a ring, a referee. I don't give a fuck if fans are there. Just give me this guy so I could get rid of him and show him how black his heart is. And I was disappointed, not in the execution and the segment alone. I thought it was fucking phenomenal. But the fact that this match is happening in 2 weeks, it really makes me disappointed that they're going to be doing this match with the current situation going on and make it like everything else when it doesn't deserve that. That's what I was worried about, and my disappointment ended up being a reality. I don't know how they do it. I don't know where it's going to be filmed. This match might be one of those matches that they filmed at another location. In fact, Triple H said that this match deserved the grandest stage. I thought that they might film it for WrestleMania. But it's not. It's taking place at a venue. Triple H said, I'll get back to you with the venue. How much time do you need? He asked Johnny Gargano. He said 2 weeks. So we're going to be seeing it in 2 weeks. Velveteen Dream versus Adam Cole. Dominic Dijakovic, Keith Lee, and Damian Priest. You got the ladder match. So they'll probably spread these matches one after the other for 4 consecutive weeks. We'll see what happens. But that is what's happening with TakeOver. And I'm disappointed in Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa happening on NXT TV. Now, NXT has 3 weeks of television saved up. Mike Johnson says, we know that they filmed 2 or 3 weeks worth of content on Sunday for NXT, so we'll see how much of it pops up in the weeks to come. There's definitely going to come to a point where they're going to run out of content unless they find another place to tape, being that the lockdown in Orlando is just wreaking uncertainty all over everything. So we don't know, but they got 3 weeks of television saved up. The other big thing that happened on the show, outside of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, was a new NXT tag team debuted on Wednesday's show. Malcolm Bivens, former Stokely Hathaway from Evolve, was revealed to be the manager of Rinku Singh and Saurav Gurjar. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Saurav Gurjar. 2 big monster Indian guys. They attacked Matt Riddle after he defeated Roderick Strong, and then Bivens came out with a microphone. Bivens brought up that Riddle's tag team partner, Pete Dunne, was halfway across the world and said that this was the perfect time to introduce Riddle to the future of the NXT tag team division. Riddle and Dunne are the current tag team champions. They won the titles from the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, at TakeOver Portland. And we got these 2 big, monstrous Indian guys on NXT. Their names were not mentioned on TV. They sloppily beat down Matt Riddle. It was just an uncoordinated mess, really. Really an uncoordinated mess. The other thing I want to talk about in a little bit, I'll talk about Austin Theory and fucking Tyler Breeze. These guys were an uncoordinated mess. Both wrestlers are from India. They've been teaming up on NXT house shows. They look great. Don't get me wrong. They remind me of the Indian version of AOP, but with a little bit more oomph, you know? A little bit more outgoing personality. The AOP look like they're just fucking silent killers. These guys were fucking oomphing and fucking just grunting all over the place while they beat up Matt Riddle. Now, Singh won India's $1 Million Arm reality series that a Disney movie of the same name was based on. He signed a contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is very interesting, and spent time in their organization. Gurjar has a background in acting and kickboxing. Bivens signed with the WWE in March of 2019, hasn't shown up on TV since, and his pre-WWE career included managing both an Evolve and Ring of Honor. Now, they need tag teams, so hopefully these guys are a solid team at the end of all this. I was not impressed by what they did in the beatdown to Matt Riddle. Their look is very good, so hopefully there is a silver lining to all this and we get some really good stuff from these guys. If they've been working the NXT house shows for a little bit now, there's no reason why these guys shouldn't be up to speed. So we'll see what happens. A new tag team debuted, and they definitely need tag teams on NXT. The other thing I wanted to mention before we move on to the rest of the show, we got Tyler Breeze and Austin Theory to open NXT this week. This is your little mini NXT review because I didn't do a video. The one thing I took away from the match was, Austin Theory is going to be a fucking stud. Easy. I mean, it's very difficult not to see that. Tyler Breeze is fucking great. But man, oh man. The report that I mentioned before about WWE having 4 producers do all these shows, that obviously was the same thing with the commentary team because Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Beth Phoenix were not there. We got Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton doing the play-by-play commentary and color commentary for NXT. If you guys go back and watch this match, and I want you to just as a kind of, oh shit, JD was right type of deal. I want you to go back and listen to this. Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton's commentary was so overproduced, so forced and so unnatural that it made me physically ill during this match. They had to say and reiterate and recite Austin Theory's full name in every sequence that he was on offense or on defense or whatever the fuck he did. Oh, Austin Theory with a great vertical suplex. Austin Theory going to the top rope. Austin Theory with a near fall. Everything. Everything that the man did. They reiterated his first and last name in the same sentence. So much so that they mentioned Austin Theory about 4 different times in a span of 60 fucking seconds. Austin Theory this, Austin Theory that, Austin Theory this, Austin Theory that. It came to a point where it was as if they were reading off a fucking script. They sounded so unorganic. I'm listening to this and I'm thinking to myself, now you know the vast differences between the main roster and NXT. Now you know the vast differences between how great NXT's commentary team is and how shit the main roster's commentary teams are. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Mauro Ranallo. I think you're a blithering fucking idiot if you think that. His puns and his fucking Mauroisms, the fucking things that he says and recites, some people might not get it, his over-the-top style. But man, oh man, you rather listen to that drivel? You rather listen to fucking Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton sound so unorganic that they should come out of the same fucking factory that Charlotte Flair comes out of? They added nothing to the show. In fact, they made it worse. Mauro enhances the show. Mauro takes a good show and makes it a great show. Mauro takes a great show and makes it a fucking fantastic show. That shit is garbage. I could have did a better job. Awful. Fucking awful. Some of you might think this next news article is awful. TakeOver Dublin postponed. Dublin has been moved. TakeOver Dublin has been moved from April 26th to October 25th. So I'm assuming we're going to get Finn Balor and Walter at some point in the coming weeks or months to come. They're not waiting for that match until October. So the name of the show is moving, and everything that's being planned for this show that was supposed to take place on April 26th is going to be no more. They'll probably end up doing that on NXT TV over in Dublin or over in the UK, wherever they film. So they'll have everything that was supposed to happen on this show take place on the weekly TV show and then come up with something completely new for October 25th. That's my assumption there, but it has not been canceled. It's been postponed. So all the tickets that you guys have purchased already for that, if you purchase tickets to that, if you live over there, they'll be honored going into October 25th. AEW canceled Double or No. Oh, actually, they haven't canceled it yet. They may cancel Double or Nothing 2 in Las Vegas. Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Live noted that AEW may be forced to postpone the big pay-per-view if the situation does not improve. It's very unclear at the moment whether the show will go on as planned in May. He says this, and I quote, "Now it's like we don't know if there's going to be a show the week after. We don't know if there's going to be a Vegas show." Medical experts have suggested that we could be over the worst of the pandemic in 12 weeks. Double or Nothing is just about to take place in over 8 weeks. So if the health experts are correct, the show will likely not go on as planned. Obviously, there's a chance that AEW could put on the show with no fans like they did with the most recent episode of Dynamite, the last 2 episodes of Dynamite, and do like WWE is doing with WrestleMania. However, I expect them to postpone the show at a later date and time because they postponed Blood and Guts. And they postponed Blood and Guts because Tony Khan and management in AEW came to their fucking senses, unlike Vince McMahon, and postponed Blood and Guts, which was going to be a big marquee show, a big marquee match, and realized, and this is not even AEW's biggest thing, it's not their biggest show, but they did realize a match and a show and an event like this needs fan energy. Unlike Vince and WrestleMania. They postponed it, and it will take place, but at a later time when things get back to normal. Khan's full statement about Blood and Guts being canceled is the following. Our goal every week with AEW Dynamite on TNT is to produce great shows for our fans, and I believe we do. We felt especially motivated to serve our audience this past Wednesday, given the entire world and what they are coping with. And hopefully we gave them a well-deserved escape during these trying times. Everyone at AEW is very proud of what we delivered and humbled by the response and the kind words we received from the fans and partners throughout the world. Thank you. We plan to continue answering that call with live weekly shows every Wednesday night on TNT, but the time and circumstances aren't right for the card we had planned next week for Blood and Guts. This was the week before the previous show that we just seen. That show will happen when the time is right. But what you can count on instead is this coming Wednesday, a great live episode of Dynamite featuring Jericho and Matt Hardy face-to-face one-on-one for the first time ever and a tremendous night of wrestling action. In the meantime, until AEW Dynamite this Wednesday night, please follow us via social media and please be safe and smart so we can get back to seeing you all on the road with us as soon as possible. Smart. And I'm glad they postponed it and moved it and are waiting to present that in its full glory, the way it deserves to be booked. Now, if Vince McMahon thinks less of WrestleMania that he's putting on a show, that's Vince McMahon, and that's the decision he has to live with for the rest of his life. And we know as fans, and the roster knows that we don't want to see this version of WrestleMania in this shape, the way it's being presented. We want WWE to postpone the show. But Tony Khan is doing that with Blood and Guts. How the companies operate differently, how one does what's right, and how one continues to do what is fucking stupid and wrong. Finally, guys, something here on Brodie Lee. Some people in WWE are very upset with Brodie Lee. Oh, cry me a fucking river. If you could go find Kleenex in the fucking supermarket, buy a whole fucking case. You fucking degenerates of World Wrestling Entertainment. You're upset with Brodie Lee. Oh, like Brodie Lee gives a fuck about you and management, right? Now, Brodie Lee made his in-ring debut on Wednesday from Daly's Place on TNT, squashing QT Marshall. Prior to the match, the show featured a pre-tape segment with Lee, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver of the Dark Order. Lee was eating a steak while talking down to them. When Silver went to eat his food, Lee got upset and kicked him out of the room as a result because Lee wasn't done eating his own meal. You eat when I tell you to eat. You eat when I'm done. So then Reynolds sneezed, which upset Lee and led to Reynolds being kicked out as well. This segment caused speculation amongst fans that the segment was booked to take shots at Vince McMahon for his second straight week. Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer that the segment was done to make fun of Vince McMahon. The segment included references to McMahon's eating at Morton's Steakhouse and stories of McMahon liking to be the first one to eat. Also, the sneezing part dates back to various stories told by people talking about McMahon hating people who sneeze around him. It's been alleged that McMahon doesn't like to sneeze because he can't control it and wants to control everything in and around him. Imagine that. Imagine that little fucking... Look at that. He doesn't like to sneeze because he can't control it. Yet this is the guy that you are putting faith in to produce a WrestleMania in the circumstances that we're in. This is the man you're putting your faith and hopes in to produce a good show when things are normal. How fucking ridiculous. So Meltzer stated that some people are very upset about the shots at McMahon by Brodie Lee. While not specified, it's likely people who are at the upper echelon in Stamford that are upset with Brodie Lee. Cry me a fucking river. You held this guy fucking down because Vince McMahon told him that, oh, you couldn't cut a southern accent? You're buried. Go home. They didn't even assign this guy to a fucking brand during the brand split. During the draft, they didn't assign this guy to a brand. Yet, you want Brodie Lee to fucking feel sorrow and sympathy and do the right thing and be a gentleman and be a professional when he himself has been held down, mocked, belittled, berated, and had opportunities taken away from him with no explanation whatsoever. You guys need to realize that Luke Harper was the sole reason why that storyline with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt was as good as it was. Luke Harper was that defining factor in that. What happened? They removed Luke Harper from the equation. We got Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 33. And what happened to the match? One of the worst in WrestleMania history as far as world title matches go. If Luke Harper was in there, I would not be sitting here saying that. For all accounts, Luke Harper should have won the fucking WWE title. But he didn't. And then Vince McMahon told him, you can't cut a southern accent, you are worthless to me. What the fuck would you do? Now, he's going to prove that he is, better than whatever WWE thought of him. He's going to do whatever he can to make them look stupid by not treating him better. And if he wants to take some cheap shots after he's been taking cheap shot after cheap shot after cheap shot after cheap shot on how he means nothing to them, then by all means, have a field day. I don't want it. Believe me, I don't want it to turn into a Vince McMahon heavy influenced character. I don't. I want it to be what the AEW team envisioned for the Exalted One. Get it out of your system, and it's warranted. Get it out of your system, have fun with it, and then move on to being the character that the Exalted One is supposed to be. But if you're sitting there faulting Brodie Lee for having fun and poking fun at Vince McMahon when all they did was fucking shit on him, my God, man, grow a fucking set of balls and shut the fuck up. That's what I say. This guy has every given right to fucking do what he wants and mock this fucking senile fuck for what he did. Give me a fucking break. Cry me a river. Finally, guys, as far as Brodie Lee goes, how long AEW planned for Brodie Lee to be the Exalted One? PW Insiders reporting that AEW had planned to debut Brodie Lee as part of the Dark Order since they knew he was able to join the company following his WWE release. It will be interesting to see what AEW has planned for big man Brodie Lee. Speaking of Brodie Lee, it has emerged that AEW boss Tony Khan blocked Brodie Lee from working a match at WrestleCon with a New Japan star. Obviously, when WrestleCon was on, before everything had gotten canceled, he blocked Brodie Lee from wrestling a New Japan star at WrestleCon. Did Tony Khan. WrestleCon, Tony Khan, he blocked Brodie Lee from wrestling at WrestleCon against a New Japan star. And that made the rounds, which, the guy hasn't even debuted with AEW yet. You want to debut him at a fucking WrestleCon show? Give me a break. Get him and his feet wet on AEW television, and then if he wants to do something when things get back to normal, and he wants to wrestle New Japan and stay in New Japan and work there, a select set of dates, and make AEW his top priority, let him gradually get into the role in AEW first before you start booking him against other people in other promotions at cons and this and that. So I would have did the same thing Tony Khan did, and I would have blocked him from wrestling anywhere until he got his feet wet and got the Dark Order over and got the Exalted One over on TV. So they had him pegged for the role soon as he was released from the WWE. It was actually reported that Marty Scurll was supposed to be revealed as the Exalted One on the December 18th of Dynamite, but he opted to stay with Ring of Honor. And then, obviously, when Brodie Lee got released, then they found their Exalted One. So, again, I'm going to give it time. I've enjoyed the 2 weeks so far, Brodie Lee. I still am wondering if he's going to fit perfectly into that leadership role. We'll figure that out, but hopefully he can get the Dark Order over, and the Exalted One and the wait for the Exalted One has a nice payoff, and I'm very interested to see what their plans are with the group moving forward. Guys, thank you so very much for joining me here on the podcast. We got a lot to cover here in this show today, and I'm glad I got through it all with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that thumbs up. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button as well. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Ridge.com/script with code SCRIPT at checkout. Patreon, if you guys want to support the podcast via Patreon, patreon.com/JDfromNY206. And if you guys missed any of the content that I uploaded this week on the channel, links will be down below in the description. I will see you right back here on Saturday afternoon. Until then, thank you guys so very much. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'll be back with part 2 of episode 319 right here on the podcast. Have a good night. Wash your hands. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys on Saturday for part 2 of OTS.